I said, if you gave me Mahomes, if you gave me Lamar Jackson with his great legs and Mahomes' great arm, or you gave me Baker Mayfield, who would I want? I would want Baker Mayfield, and the reason why is because Baker Mayfield.
I really think that now this is the worst case scenario for the San Francisco 49ers, is that they're going to have to cut ties with Jimmy Garoppolo if I were them. What? Oh my God! Wow, man!
In any event, Kyle Gibson is definitely my NL Cy Young Award winner. Rock on, Gibby.
And even no way! Oh my God!
All right, everybody. Welcome to Sports Weekly. I guess we're going to call this the Super Bowl preview edition. And as you can see, I have a co-host here with Isaiah Leong with his Brock Purdy beautiful jersey right here. A bit too big of a size, but that's okay. You can grow into it. Obviously, you could tell what side he's on. I hate to be on this side, of course, with the Chiefs, but it's the only options we have in this game coming up. Isaiah, how is tonight? Are you able to stay dry out there?
James, first of all, it's great to be back doing this show, man. I haven't been able to do a show in a couple of weeks because I was out of town, out of the States, but it's great to be back, man. And I am staying dry right now. Thank goodness the storm actually hit when a day after I got back, so I was able to stay at home, sleep in a lot because I was hella jet lagged. So yeah, that was great. And the storm has actually passed us. I think yesterday was the last day that it was in the Bay Area, so that's good. I think it went down to your area now in Southern California. It went down there. So, good luck with that. Prayers up to you and the people in Southern California. But, James, all I got to say is this, man. Super Bowl bound! Super Bowl bound! How about them Niners, man? Bring on Kansas City. Bring on the rematch. Revenge is coming.
I hate this. All right, so let's talk about how both of these teams got here. All right, so let's talk about the Kansas City Chiefs. Okay, so they were able to go to Baltimore the week before. They went to Buffalo and won, and then they hosted Miami in the wild card game. They went to Baltimore. They held on to win 17-10 in the AFC Championship game. Chiefs go back to the Super Bowl here. And to me, it felt like a game that the Ravens, again, did not do well. They only ran the ball, I think you mentioned 8 times. They didn't stick to their game plan. The Chiefs' defense did a hell of a job shutting down somewhat the passing game, but made Lamar do some bad things. He had one interception that was pretty bad. And then, the winning pedigree that Mahomes and Kelsey have, again, shout out to the rookie receiver Rice doing well, and then Pacheco and all those guys just shine bright. And then the defense, again, you can't give them more credit than anything, because you can't give them enough credit, I should say, because that defense was unheralded. There's only Chris Jones. Then they have a bunch of other guys, but that safety, some other linebackers there, they all made plays. So that championship pedigree that Mahomes and Kelsey have put into everyone, with Andy Reid here, who we'll talk about later, you could just tell it just went throughout the whole the locker room. Where it's like, hey, they struggled during the regular season, but they found their way to Vegas. What was your reaction to the AFC Championship game, Isaiah?
Well, first of all, I'm thankful to the football gods that Baltimore decided to put their head into their ass and come up with an absolute stupid game plan because coming into this game, James, I think on our last show, I said this. I wanted Kansas City, because I wanted Niners Chiefs in the Super Bowl for a rematch. I felt like Kansas City stole my Super Bowl from back in 2019. And I wanted a rematch and I wanted redemption. So I'm glad I'm getting that rematch. I'm glad I'm getting the matchup that I wanted. But in terms of this game, James, this game left me confused and I was in Hong Kong, so I didn't get to watch this game because, as I told you earlier tonight, it was 4 a.m. when this game came on, and obviously not going to get up at 4 a.m. to watch a football game. This game left me confused when I saw the score because, number one, I thought it would be more high scoring because you look at Patrick Mahomes and that high octane offense, and then you have Lamar Jackson and that high octane offense in Baltimore. So I thought it would be a really good high-scoring game. It was a really low-scoring game. It was a lot of defense. And, Ravens defense has been playing well all season long. Kansas City's defense, same thing. But the game plan on offense by John Harbaugh and Todd Monken was the stupidest game plan I've ever seen. Kansas City, James, let me read you some stats. Kansas City ranks 26th against the run. They're not that good against the run. They've struggled all year long stopping the run. And Baltimore, you are a running team. You are a team that's known to run the football with Lamar, with the great running backs that you guys have. And you only ran the football 8 times? Are you insane? Why? It makes no sense. It feels like the Ravens were purposely sabotaging the game. It just doesn't make sense that a team that is a run-heavy team against a weak run defense would run the football 8 times. It just feels like they were purposely trying to give Kansas City the game. I don't understand what they were doing whatsoever. Patrick Mahomes wasn't that great in this game. It was the defense really doing their thing and helping the Chiefs pull this out. But Baltimore, they shot themselves in the foot with the game planning and also with the turnovers. I mean, Zay Flowers, what are you doing stretching the football out to try to score a touchdown? I know you're trying to get greedy. I know you're trying to score a touchdown, but just go down. You go down the next play, you'll definitely score instead of fumbling the football into the back of the end zone. And then it's a touchback and you give Kansas City the football, and then Lamar Jackson throws a pass into the end zone, intercepted. Into triple coverage. That was one of the worst throws I've ever seen this season, and it gets picked off. And Baltimore could have tied the game with either one of those two possessions being touchdowns, but instead they got 0 points, and then they didn't run the football enough, and that's why they ended up losing the game. It was just a really stupid game plan by Todd Monken and John Harbaugh. I don't know what they're doing. It's we talked about before the show. Baltimore, I felt like, tried to outsmart Kansas City, but they outsmarted themselves. They knew Kansas City weak against the run. Baltimore is a primarily dominant running team. So obviously, anybody would think, okay, Baltimore is just going to run the football and just run it down Kansas City's throats to attack Kansas City's weakness. But I think Baltimore thought that, Kansas City thought that they would do that. So they tried to do the opposite and do a pass-heavy offense, and that ended up costing them because their pass offense hasn't been that good all season long, and they did their weakness, and it fooled themselves instead of fooling Kansas City. So just a ridiculous game plan by John Harbaugh, Todd Monken, and the Ravens. They're going to have to think about that for a long, long time. I do not know what they were doing whatsoever. And, James, in terms of Kansas City, this run reminds me, and I'm going to do a basketball analogy. This run reminds me, James, of the 2018 Golden State Warriors. You remember that team? The Warriors were kind of older. They were kind of in disarray. Nobody expected them to even get to the finals that year. And they somehow, some way got to the finals, and they beat teams like the Rockets and all these other teams that everybody was hyping up. But yeah, the Chiefs, they beat up on the Bills, they beat up on the Ravens, teams that everybody was like, yeah, they're definitely going to beat Kansas City. They're better than Kansas City. They were better than Kansas City. But you know why Kansas City beat them? It's because those teams choked, just like the Rockets did back in 2018, just like the other teams in the West did that was supposed to be better than the Warriors. They did back in 2018. So for Kansas City, the run continues, and you can't ever underestimate the Chiefs. And Kansas City, the dynasty continues, and for Baltimore, a sad, confusing ending to their season is how I'm going to put it.
Look, it's just amazing how the regular season went. Everybody was giving praise, to Lamar Jackson. He will win that MVP for the regular season, but this is a award I wish, just like the NBA, they would wait till the end of the season, in the off season to have that award, because you could throw on others on the 49ers who will transition to win that MVP. So let's talk about the team that you're wearing here on your side. The 49ers, they epically came back to defeat the Detroit Lions in Santa Clara in the NFC Championship game. My thoughts on it, hey, the Lions, they had a tremendous year. Their fans obviously definitely were let down, but a lot of them haven't been this close ever. So great season for them. It just felt like they did not know how to win. They didn't know how to finish the game. And those gambles that Dan Campbell had came back to bite him at the worst time. I mean, the last game of your season, and it just killed you. It killed him. So they have to learn how to finish games and win games. I mean, they got by in the regular season. They had some close calls, had some, cupcake games, but they were able to get here despite that. But they have to learn how to win. They have to learn how to finish, in my opinion. Take a look at the Niners. They just have a know-how, just like the Chiefs do. They have all the talent in the world, and that's what you thought coming into this season. That's why I picked these two to go to the Super Bowl. But I thought when Javon Hargrave went from Philadelphia to the Niners in free agency, I thought, okay, Niners are going to win the championship if healthy. Samuel came back. We weren't sure how his arm was going to be or shoulder was going to be. He did do some things, but it came down to McCaffrey balling out, Purdy stepping in, making throws, sometimes on a run as well. He's not just Mr. Irrelevant anymore. He is, building his own chapter in the NFL, it feels like. George Kittle, he didn't do much, but you could tell his blocking downfield really helped. Just the explosiveness of C2C, of Christian McCaffrey, CMC, was huge. And then the defense coming up big. It came down to two halves, in my opinion, for this game. But the 49ers, they come back and win 34-31. Isaiah, what was your reaction to your Niners coming back and winning this game?
Well, James, let me just say this. I wasn't born in this year. I was born after this. But let me just say this. This comeback reminds me of 1994 all over again. Brock Purdy was looking like Steve Young out there. And this 49ers team was looking like that 1994 team. This was what champions are made of. When they were when the Niners were down 24-7, I thought the Niners were going to lose. I was in Hong Kong. I was pissed. I was by myself. I was pissed. I was just like, man, oh my God, it's going to be this again. We just can't get over the hump. We should fire Shanahan and hire Bill Belichick because we just can't get over the hump. That's how pissed off I was. But the Niners, credit to Shanahan and credit to Steve Wilkes. I don't know what they said at halftime, but they turned it around in the second half. They awoke the Niners in the second half, and I really think it started with Deebo Samuel catching a simple out route into the first play of the second half, in which he catches it. He's about to get tackled for only an 8-yard gain, but he muscles forward, breaks a tackle, and gets about I believe 15 or 16. And I think that really sparked the Niners because you could tell they got into a rhythm, they got going. After that, the Niners had a lot of lucky plays in this game. I mean, the one where Brock Purdy's rolling to his left, he can't find anybody, he throws across his body, which is a big no-no in the NFL. go. He throws across his body. And Jawan Jennings makes a just falling backwards, a leaping one-handed grab. Like if he doesn't make that, it's 4th and 4. The Niners are at their own, I believe, 49-yard line. They probably have to punt, and the Lions probably win the game. And then the Brandon Ayuk catch. I mean, that, I don't know if James, did you see that one or not? But that was the catch of the decade, man. Like,
was lucky.
oh my God! Like when I saw that, I was like, my jaw fell to the floor. Like I could not believe that Brandon Ayuk made that grab. Like that ball should have been intercepted by the Detroit Lions. I mean, for it to bounce off the guy's hands, off his helmet, and into the air and right to Ayuk. I mean, that was a lucky play right there. And then, a couple of the 4th down plays that you mentioned, the one where Goff, 4th and 3, I think, you're in Niners territory. Goff tries to hit Josh Reynolds, and it hits him right in the hands. He should have catch it. He should have caught it. It hits him right in the hand, and he drops it. We got lucky there because they get points there. It's pretty much over. So the Niners
Take the points, Dan Campbell.
Take the points, Dan Campbell, exactly. And then, like, the other one, the brain-dead decision by Dan Campbell to go for it. It's 4th down and 3, a long 3, to go for a 4th and 3 when you're in 49ers territory. You're at the San Francisco 30-yard line. It's a 3-point game, and you decide to go for it. That was the game right there because they didn't get it. The Niners, on the next possession, they go down, go all the way down, score a touchdown. That was basically the game right there. So the Niners, honestly, they did not play their best football. They played like crap in the first half. I mean, their performance in the first half, I did not recognize that defense. The defense was getting battered and bruised and beaten down, and it looked like a bunch of NFL players playing against a college team, like legit. It looked like that. That's how bad it looked like for the Niners defensive line. But, Brock Purdy put on his best performance, and he willed the Niners to victory in the second half. CMC was fantastic in the second half. Brandon Ayuk was outstanding in the second half. Jawan Jennings had a clutch play. George Kittle had a clutch catch that he made for like 20, 30 yards. And then Jake Moody, let's talk about the kicker for a second, man. I mean, he missed the first one for 43. The second one where the Niners really needed some points to calm them down to start the second half. He makes it from 50. I don't know how you miss a 43-yard field goal and then you come back and make a 50-yarder. Like, it makes no sense whatsoever. But, hey, credit to Moody and then credit to the defense. I mean, I was chewing the defense's ass off in a group chat, James, in the first half. I was saying, man, Javon Hargraves, I mean, boy, you make like $90 million, man. The Niners should have paid you 90 pesos instead of 90 million. I mean, that's how pathetic he was playing. Nick Bosa, he got like $100-something million. That guy should throw all of his money to the Salvation Army. That's what I was saying. And then, like, I was ripping him. Yes, James, go ahead.
I got to get your reaction on the Chase Young news or what people were thinking. Did you hear that he took some plays off, especially that Gibbs touchdown run? They felt like he wasn't hustling, he wasn't getting to the ball, getting to the ball. Did you hear about that? And then what's your take on that? Do you think the locker room will have him ready for the Super Bowl? No BS plays like that again?
Yeah, I mean, that was pathetic. You had 4 guys right there to get Jahmyr Gibbs, and none of them decide to tackle him. Like that, I was like, what are you doing? You literally let the guy run through all 4 guys. That was totally unacceptable whatsoever. It was embarrassing. It was disgraceful. Chase Young, James, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets benched in the Super Bowl because Kyle Shanahan one thing he doesn't tolerate is lack of effort. And you could see that he was taking plays off. He was taking a bunch of plays off. I mean, this guy's got a lot of talent, and he's just wasting it. And I remember, during that first half of the game when the Niners were playing piss-poor football, I was downright ripping the heck out of Chase Young. I remember saying, this dude, he was the number 2 pick in the NFL draft. He should have been the number 2 pick in the USFL NFL draft. Like, I don't even know if that league still exists, but that's how bad he was playing. I mean, the guy played like he didn't belong in the NFL, and he's been a waste of a acquisition. He hasn't really done much ever since he was with the Niners. I've been very disappointed in Chase Young. I hope he shows out with a vengeance in the Super Bowl, but yeah, that was embarrassing by Chase Young. And I mean, the whole defense, honestly, the defensive line should have been embarrassed with how they played in that first half. And also in the second half, with no pressure, not a lot of pressure. I think they only had 2 sacks. Jared Goff had a lot of time in the pocket. That's one thing that really worries me, James, going into the Super Bowl. And, you know, I mean, the Niners, long story short, got lucky. They got lucky. They shouldn't have won that game. The Detroit Lions choked that game away. Dan Campbell, I mean, some of the decisions, the 4th down decisions, I was like, what are you doing? Like, it makes no sense whatsoever why you're going for fourth, like going for a 4th down in that situation. But Brock Purdy put the Niners on his back, and he willed them to the Super Bowl. And he looked like, James, I'm going to say it, buddy. He looked like the second coming of Tom Brady out there with those passes in the second half, those methodical, just clutch plays in the second half. I mean, he looked tremendous. He looked like Brock Purdy looked like Tom Brady coming back from 28-3. I mean, that's how clutch that man was in the second half. CMC was great, but what a win by the Niners. What an epic comeback. And yeah, we're going to the Super Bowl, and I can't wait.
All right, so let's get to that Super Bowl 58. They're in Las Vegas, Nevada at Allegiant Stadium. Of course, the home of my Raiders, but not on Sunday. Yikes. Obviously, yeah, with these 2 teams, you have, in my opinion, the best of the best playing. I mean, I don't think there's any doubt about that. I feel like both teams have stacked rosters in a way, one more than the other with the 49ers. Now, the Chiefs, they just know how to get it done. Like I mentioned, the defense, I think, was motivated by the offense. Then the offense got going, and that's when they're unstoppable. You mentioned the tough task that the 49ers have trying to get Mahomes and get him down. We saw that pretty much his whole career, where he doesn't get sacked often. It's just a thing that he knows how to get away. He knows how to throw the ball away. He knows how to throw to his receivers. He knows when to dump it off. And then he also knows when to run out of the pocket and gets first downs. So we know how Mahomes is able to, manage the game. Excuse me. This feels like one of those games where the Niners just have to overcome that. That's what I feel like. So we'll do a little preview here. And then, Isaiah, how about this? At the end of the topic number 5, we'll do the prediction of the game, the score of the game, who wins. So
Great plan.
We'll do the first question here. What do the Chiefs have to do to win the Super Bowl? Let's start off with your opponent here. What do the Chiefs have to do to win the Super Bowl? For me, I feel like they have to maintain the time of possession. I mean, really, they have to have long, sustainable drives. Keep that offense off the field for San Francisco and have to make them score explosive. Now, that can happen. That can happen with the Niners. We saw that in the Lion game where they just took off once halftime was over. But for the Chiefs, they can't have any field goals, it feels like. They just have to continue to rely on Kelsey over the middle. Rashid Rice has to be great. And then Pacheco, somehow, some way, has to get some great yards against that 49er front. I mean, that's a front that is just, unbeatable. But we saw Jahmyr Gibbs kind of take that down along with David Montgomery. So maybe they have a game plan to do that. But I think for the Chiefs, in order to win the Super Bowl, they have to maintain and possess the ball more than San Francisco. What do you think? What do the Chiefs have to do to win it?
Yeah, I agree with a lot of your points there. For me, I think for the Chiefs, number one, it's stop the run because you're 26th in the NFL in terms of run defense. You know, James, that the Niners are going to attack the Chiefs' weaknesses, and that's what Kyle Shanahan does. So the Chiefs' weakness, their big weakness, is their run defense. So you know the Niners are going to pound it with McCaffrey and Mitchell down the Chiefs' throats. They have to stop the run. If they don't stop the run, well, then you're going to be screwed. So they have to stop the run. That's the big number one key for them. Number two is they need to have some Mahomes magic because I expect this Niner defensive line to be aggressive, to come after Patrick Mahomes in this game because they know that you can't let Patrick Mahomes have 10 plus seconds in the pocket like you did with Jordan Love or Jared Goff because he's way better than Jordan Love or Jared Goff. No disrespect to those two, but he's way better than them, and he's going to torch you with 10 seconds to throw the football if you give him that much time. So they need some Mahomes magic because if they get after him and he's being swarmed and swarmed and swarmed, especially in that offensive line with Joe Thuney, their star guard, not playing most likely because of a pec injury. So it's going to be a backup at the guard position. I think at the left guard position, it's going to be a backup. So that's Mahomes' blind side. So you know, you probably gonna have Hargraves or I believe Bosa or Chase Young in that area to try to rush the passer. They got to hold up, and Mahomes he's got to make plays. Whether it's scrambling and throwing or just making magic happen, he's got to make magic happen because the Chiefs I feel like are not as talented as the Niners. So Mahomes has to put this team on his back for them to win. And then I think the other key for the Kansas City Chiefs is, the other key is I feel like they can't turn the football over. Can't give this Niners dominant offense extra possessions in order for you to win.
All right, so let's get to how the 49ers will win this game. I know they're missing that one defensive player who got hurt last game. I was trying to find his name, but he's part of that defense, and he was kind of a big piece as of late. But they're going to be without him, unfortunately. So in order for the Niners to win this game, they're going to have explosive plays. They cannot let Chris Jones get to Purdy and rattle him. That's going to be very tough. Oh, there it is. He's on Kansas. Oh, okay. I thought it was on San Francisco. How do you pronounce his name? Omenihu?
Yeah, so Charles Omenihu is actually that's a big blow for them because he is actually their second best pass rusher and their second best run defender outside of Chris Jones. So that's huge because now with them being weak already in terms of run defense, him being out, it hurts them even more because you can easily now just double team Chris Jones, triple team him, and make the other guys beat you, and you could just run right through, right by Chris Jones' side.
That's what I was going to mention. Without him, now you could double team Chris Jones. You could get him out of the play and let Christian McCaffrey, Samuel, whomever you throw Ayuk on one of those end arounds. You can see that. So that's a big loss for Kansas City. So in order for the Niners to win, I think that's a big deal. Or keep Jones out of the game and the secondary not to be as good. That would be really good to see. Just for Brock Purdy to be accurate. Now the thing is too, I mentioned this on another show, on another network, I should say too. If Brock Purdy, if he has any jitters or mistakes, please take care of them early and then come back strong, right away whenever those mistakes if they do happen. Make sure they're done early and not late in the game. Your first time playing on the biggest stage of the game, a lot of pressure on you. You're playing the juggernaut that is Kansas City. You're trying to prove your worth. You know, you weren't able to play last year in the Super Bowl. You got hurt before. So I think in order for the Niners to win, Purdy, if he makes mistakes, you got to take care of them early. And then make sure you come out better. And then for the defense, just to be better. Get to the ball, get to Pacheco. If you have to, stack the box. Get 6, 7, 8 in there. Disguise it first as a pass coverage, but then get in there with your great linebackers. You know, Fred Warner. Make sure Armstead is going in there, and you have Bosa, who's a beast, and then Hargrove really has to show up in order for the Niners to win. Again, I thought he was the biggest factor of the Niners. Why I picked him to go to the Super Bowl was because of Hargrove going from Philadelphia, who lost a lot of players, to San Francisco and making them even a bigger juggernaut. So Hargrove is going to have a great game, and that's why I feel like if the Niners, it's not, to me, it's also kind of a time possession thing as well with San Francisco, just to keep the Chiefs' offense off the field. You know, to make them rush. I mean, they're great when they have to rush the Chiefs. We've seen that before. But on the biggest stage, against one of the best defenses in the league, San Francisco, it would be a tougher task for Mahomes and company. You know, let's say it was like 50 seconds, 40 seconds left, and they're up by 8. Let's just say, you know, Kansas City would have a tougher time. So that's why I think for San Francisco to win. All right, Isaiah, what is the key for your team to win the Super Bowl on Sunday?
Key number 1 is the biggest key, and that is Kyle Shanahan. Do not be like John Harbaugh and Todd Monken in Baltimore. Run the football. RUN. Just run. That's what you got to do. Whether it's end arounds, jet sweeps with Debo or Ayuk or Christian McCaffrey up the middle, just run the ball. Kansas City's defense ranked 26 in terms of run defense. I can't emphasize that enough. 26 in run defense, and they just lost Charles Omenihu, who tore his ACL in that AFC Championship game. They're not going to have one of their best run defenders on their team. So run the football, attack their weaknesses. Don't be like those idiots in Baltimore and decide to, outsmart the Chiefs and, do the total opposite, which is your weakness. Run the football, establish control of the line of scrimmage, and that's how you're going to win. So that's the biggest number one take or key for me for the Niners to win is just to run the football, because I think if they run the football, have a heavy dose of McCaffrey, heavy dose of Mitchell, heavy dose of jet sweeps. Remember, against Kansas City in the Super Bowl 4 years ago, Kansas City could not stop the jet sweeps. They could not stop Debo. They couldn't stop the motions. They couldn't stop the run game, and then we went away from it, and that's why we ended up losing. So run the football is the biggest key for me, and that's the number one key. Number two, and James, I think this is going to be how the game comes down to the pressure. Can the San Francisco 49ers get pressure on Patrick Mahomes? If we can't get pressure on Patrick Mahomes, folks, don't even watch the game. Because if we can't get pressure on Patrick Mahomes and we're allowing him 10 seconds to throw the football, I mean, don't even show up. Put Blaine Gabbert there. He'll torch us. If the Niners are giving you 10 plus seconds to throw the football. I mean, are you kidding me? You can't give any quarterback in the NFL, a starter, backup, third stringer, can't give them 10 plus seconds to throw the football. This is not your average quarterback. This is a superstar quarterback who is the best quarterback in the NFL right now in Patrick Mahomes. You can't give him 10 plus seconds to throw the football. So it's going to come down to it. Can the Niners pressure Patrick Mahomes? Can guys like Nick Bosa, Eric Armstead, Javon Hargrave, Chase Young, those high-priced defensive linemen, can they get after Patrick Mahomes? Can they do their job and do what they're paid big money to do? If they can, Niners are going to easily win this. If they can't, it's going to be a wrap, and Kansas City is going to easily beat the Niners' butt on Sunday. And I think you will find out, like the first couple possessions, you will find out how this game is going to go. If you don't see Bosa getting loose, if you don't see Hargraves getting loose, if you don't see Armstead getting loose, the Niners are in big trouble. And then, James, if I'm Steve Wilks, if I'm the Niners defensive coordinator, what I do early is the first possession, the first 3 plays, I'm sending a blitz. That's what I'm doing, because I'm sending a blitz to send a message to Patrick Mahomes, and I will hit Patrick Mahomes a couple times. I'm sending a blitz to send a message to Mahomes saying, hey, we're going to come after you today, all day, every day, like Tampa did in the Super Bowl back in 2020. We're going to swarm you. We're going to come after you. It's going to be a long day for you, and this is a different Niners defense than you saw against Green Bay and also against Detroit. So that's what I would do if I'm the Niners. And then I think the third key is Brock Purdy. Don't make mistakes. Kansas City, this team really feasts on mistakes. This is your first Super Bowl. Obviously, the nerves are going to be there. Just take what the defense gives you. Don't try to be too greedy. Do a lot of the short passes. I don't trust this Kansas City secondary. I'm not that high on their defense like a lot of people are. I think if you run the ball, if you get after Mahomes, and if you just stick to the short game, I think that the Niners will be in good shape to win this game.
All right, so before we get to our predictions of the game, let's get to the head coaches of the game. Now, let's start off with Andy Reid first, because Andy Reid, there's been rumors if they win, he'll retire. We heard that before with McVay and Donald with the Rams back in 2022, but that didn't happen. I think he's still going to be the coach after this game. I don't think he has more pending on this game because he's already solidified twice. So when it comes down to it, Kyle Shanahan, who you mentioned on the topic before, he has so much more on the line because of his past playoff and Super Bowl failures. We could talk about 28-3, Atlanta and New England, the past Super Bowls or playoff failures of the 49ers, as you have experienced. So for me, it feels like Kyle Shanahan has more on the line as the head coaches. We talk about them. So Isaiah, coming down to it, Kyle Shanahan or Andy Reid, which coach has more on the line in this Super Bowl 58?
Well, let's lay it out on the table, right? If Kyle Shanahan loses this game, he would have lost all 3 Super Bowl appearances. Not just lost all 3 Super Bowl appearances, but he would have lost it and also choked in those 3 games. So, he's a great offensive mind, highly decorated offensive mind, and he will be known as a coach that can't win the big game. And then you look at Andy Reid. If he loses this game, yeah, he's won 2 Super Bowls. He's already solidified his reputation, but he would be 2-2 in Kansas City in the Super Bowl compared to 3-1. So there is still a big difference there. For me, I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to go more Kyle Shanahan because I think for Andy Reid, even if he loses, he still already has 2 Super Bowl championships on his resume, and he's been to a bunch. So I don't think it will hurt, but it won't hurt as much for Kyle Shanahan to lose if Andy Reid were to lose. So I'm going to go Shanahan because he's got a lot at stake here. If he wins the Super Bowl, James, if he wins it, Kyle Shanahan's already one of the best offensive minds in football. A lot of people want to compare him to, Sean Payton from the past and Andy Reid and all those great coaches. But what is he missing? The Lombardi Trophy. Mm-hmm. And if he wins it, you can make the case that he might be the modern day Bill Walsh if he wins the Super Bowl. People are going to go that far with those comparisons. You're definitely going to compare him to Sean Payton and some of those elite offensive coaches in our game. And he's definitely going to be viewed as a top 5 head coach in the NFL with the ring. But before you go, James, let me add this point. Also, if he wins the Super Bowl, nobody can question Kyle Shanahan as a quarterback developer and a quarterback guru again. Because I heard the noise in the past, like, oh, Kyle Shanahan, he's supposed to be a quarterback guru. What kind of quarterbacks does he develop? If he wins the Super Bowl with Brock Purdy, he would have taken pick 262, Mr. Irrelevant, not a top 5 quarterback. Not a guy that was a top 5 pick or even a superstar quarterback that was there before Kyle came in, he would have taken pick number 262, Mr. Irrelevant, to win the Super Bowl. No, so nobody can ever doubt him as a quarterback guru and a quarterback developer again if he wins it. But if he loses it, he's going to be what Kirby Smart was when he could not beat Nick Saban. A guy that's a good coach but cannot win the big game. He has to win the big game in order to solidify himself as one of the best coaches in the NFL. That's all he's missing. And if he doesn't, his reputation is going to take a massive hit because he's going to be going down as, Andy Reid, a younger Andy Reid in the past, could not win the big game, always choking. And this Niners team, James, they're going to be known as the Buffalo Bills of the modern day because they're going to be choking, and can't win the big one.
Let me say this about Shanahan. I think even if he wins on Sunday, there's going to be more pressure on him to win again just because how the 49ers are built. So I'll end it at that because even there will be validation, but it's like, can you win again? You're the coaches above you. They're known for not Peyton, but others. They're known for getting back there and winning again. So we'll see what happens. That'll be tough. So let's get to the prediction of Super Bowl 58. For me, again, I had both in the Super Bowl. I thought they had the best of the best here, and that's, proving to be the case. For me, I've had the 49ers predicted as a winner. I thought from the beginning, again, when they got Hargrove, when, revenge was on their mind and getting to the Super Bowl, I felt like this was the drive to do it. With the Chiefs, it feels like, man, they really shouldn't be here. That's what it felt like going into the playoffs. So it's like, oh, man, everybody was just waiting for them to lose, before getting to the Super Bowl somehow. But for me, I'm going to take the Niners. I feel like it's going to be like a 31-27 win for San Francisco. All the keys that we mentioned, but I think it just comes down to San Francisco having a little bit more than Kansas City. It may come down to, again, the time of possession. It may come down to Mahomes, being down too late and not having enough to win the game. And also we'll see how the game will be reffed because which way the calls go. That's going to be an interesting thing to see. But I think eventually the Niners, will get their sixth Super Bowl. Unfortunately, I wish both teams would lose, Isaiah, but no. So how do you think this Super Bowl is going to go? I say 31-27 San Francisco.
Well, James, I feel bad for you because I feel like you are the person that has the most to lose in the Super Bowl because you're losing either way. Because if the Niners win, the Niner fans can gloat over, the Raiders, and, Raider fans or the Raiders don't really like the Niners. And obviously you don't want the Chiefs to win because they're in your division and they would have won back-to-back Super Bowls and 3 out of the last 4 years. So they will obviously be a dynasty right there as James shows his Raiders stuff. And also not to mention, this game, Niners-Chiefs, 2 of your hated rivals going at it for the Lombardi Trophy. It's in Vegas, too. It's in Vegas. And also, James, I forgot to add this. To make matters worse, and I'm not trying to, pile all this hate on you, but Brock Purdy, isn't it the guy that's my guy that I've been high on since he was in college? So if the Niners win, not only would my team have won a championship at your home, but my quarterback, who I've been high on since the beginning, ever since he got drafted, I called him Brady 2.0. He would have won his first ring in your building. So, wow. For me, for my Niners-Chiefs pick, it's going to be a great game. I can't wait for it. I can't wait for the game. I can't wait for the halftime show. I can't wait for the commercials in this game. This is the matchup that I've been wanting ever since Kansas City beat us back 4 years ago. Brock Purdy is an upgrade over Jimmy Garoppolo. Christian McCaffrey, Niners didn't have him. They didn't have Brandon Ayuk as well back in the day, and Deebo Samuel was a rookie. So this is a team that's, more seasoned. They have more offensive weapons now. Kansas City doesn't have the weapons that they used to have in the past. I think that it's going to come down to two things. It's going to come down to, can the Niners get pressure on Patrick Mahomes? Because if they can, they will win the game. If they can't, they will lose the game. And also it comes down to, can the Chiefs stop the run? If they can't, then San Francisco easily wins it. If they can, then that's a bigger issue for San Francisco. So having said that, I am going with Brock Purdy and the 49ers, just like you, to win our 6th Lombardi trophy. I think Brock Purdy has a really good day because I think Kansas City will be zoning in on stopping the run, which will allow for a lot of those open receivers like Kittle, Deebo, and Ayuk to be able to have big days when it comes to the passing attack. And I think the Niners pass rush, they got called out by Steve Wilks, the defensive coordinator. They got called out by Kyle Shanahan for that embarrassing effort against the Lions. I think they will come ready to play. And guys like Nick Bosa, Javon Hargraves, they're going to be X factors in this game. And James, I got a big X factor for you. I think a guy that really has the defining game in the Super Bowl is Chase Young. He has heard all the noise. He's been criticized a bunch, by me included. I think he's going to come out and look like the number 2 pick in the NFL draft, not the USFL draft, but the NFL draft. He'll look like the number 2 pick, and he's going to dominate off the edge. Because without Thuney, you can put him, where the left guard is next to Bosa, and let's see how you stop those two. So I think Brock has a great day. I think he throws for over 300 yards. I think he throws 3 touchdowns. I think Christian McCaffrey runs for a touchdown. And the Niners win this game. I'm gonna go 34 to 24. I'm gonna go 34 to 24. It's gonna be close, but the Niners will keep a touchdown lead, and then they'll kick a field goal towards the end to blow it apart and win their 6th Lombardi trophy, and finally, after all the heartbreak, get over the hump.
All right, so let's get to some non-Super Bowl news in the NFL. And of course, all of this is coming down to coaches and coordinators. I'll worry about that when it comes up, speaking of the Raiders. But speaking of Seattle, the Seahawks, they replaced Pete Carroll, the longtime coach, with Michael McDonald, not the singer, but Mike McDonald, the Ravens defensive coordinator. As head coach, the new head coach for Seattle. Obviously, they have a young defense, and I feel like maybe McDonald can be the answer for them, but you have to come and bring in an offense coordinator as well. That will make the offense more explosive. They have weapons there. They just have to get them going correctly. But with the young defense, I think they just need a new voice. Maybe that's what happened with Pete Carroll. He lobbied for his job, we know that, but it just felt like they need a new voice in there, a younger voice. So what did you think about the Seahawks hiring McDonald? Because out there was Vrabel, a host of other coaches that I think we thought maybe, or Dan Quinn especially, who we talked about. I was kind of shocked he didn't get that job in Seattle again. But what do you think about McDonald getting hired by Seattle?
I hate the Seattle Seahawks, but I like this hire by the Seahawks. This is a great hire by Seattle because, number one, they had to go with a defensive coach because their issue wasn't offense the last several years. Their issue was the defense. The defense has been awful the last several years, and that has been the Achilles heel of the Seattle Seahawks. So they bring in a coach that is known for defense and known for having a really stingy defense. I mean, Mike McDonald had great defenses when he was the coordinator at Michigan. And then in Baltimore in 2 years, he had really, really good defenses. And his defenses are what everybody is running now, that Baltimore-style defense. So I think it's a great hire for Seattle. You bring that Baltimore-style defense, the defense that really has held the Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay offenses down in the past, which is something you're facing in the division. So that really helps them. So if you can build up that defense, the offense, like you mentioned, they have weapons with Metcalf and Lockett and Jackson Smith and Jigba. They just got to figure out the quarterback situation. And James, I read somewhere the other day that the Seahawks are non-committal to Geno Smith as their quarterback, and that their GM James is very fond of Drew Lock, and they could have Drew Lock starting
Why
in
not?
2024. Yeah, why not? Right? Because he can sling the football down the field. I think that's a great hire for them. They have to figure
Yeah.
out what kind of offense they're running, but the offense is not their biggest concern. It's the defense. Now they got a guy to fix that defense, help that defense out. I think Seattle will be back in a couple of years.
Hopefully. Let's get to the Washington Commanders. So after the Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson opted to run it back and stay in Detroit with Dan Campbell, we'll see if Aaron Glenn does the same, maybe. The Commanders hired defensive coordinator of the Cowboys, Dan Quinn, as their head coach. When I woke up and saw that morning, I was like, what the hell? I obviously thought Dan Quinn would have either stayed with the Cowboys or take that Seattle job that McDonald got. But I know he went on and hired his own guys there in Washington, but I don't like this fit with Washington. Something just tells me this will not work out. Maybe just to have an intel on the Cowboys, maybe that's a reason why he'll do somewhat well in Washington, but I just don't see this working out. What do you think about the Commanders hiring Dan Quinn?
I don't like it at all. I think they should have went and hired Bill Belichick or Mike Vrabel. I don't understand this hire. They needed a culture change. And to make matters even worse, James, Dan Quinn, who when he runs the defense, he does a great job and the defense is very good. But he's not even going to be running the defense. He's turning the defense over to a defensive coordinator, which is even worse because he tried that in Atlanta when he was the head coach. He was the head coach. He coached the whole team. And then the defense was ran by someone else, and their defense was always ranked like 27th or 28th in football. And it was only their offense that was always so good. That's why their offense led them to the Super Bowl. But I don't like this hire at all. I think that Dan Quinn I would have liked it a little bit more if he would be the guy calling the defense because I think he needs to do that. But I don't like this hire. I think if you're going to go with a defensive coach, go with a Belichick, go with a Vrabel. Like I don't understand why none of those guys got jobs this offseason. Dan Quinn, I just feel like he's better as a defensive coordinator than a head coach. Yep. He's a good leader, but he's not like you see when he doesn't run the defense is absolute garbage. So I don't like this hire, and I think that for Washington, Ben Johnson, I feel like would have been a better fit because he can develop a quarterback, which you need. But now you're trusting Cliff Kingsbury, which we'll talk about next, to develop the quarterback. I don't like this hire. It feels like it's a gimmick hire by the Washington Commanders.
Okay, before we get to the next Commander news, okay. Eric Bieniemy is in the building. Why not just promote him, as head coach? Maybe he didn't do so well with the offense in Washington. Maybe that's why he didn't get it. But he's in the freaking building. Why not just promote him? You're not going to be winning, a couple of years here. He's somewhat of an offensive, maybe guru genius is too much of a strong word, but I would have thought they would have just went with that hiring. It would have been easier, but they didn't, and I was really shocked by that. Now Bieniemy, I don't know where he's going to go. He's not going to be in Washington because the next news comes up. Cliff Kingsbury went from the Raiders on Friday and said, you know what? Nah, Vegas is too much of a nice place. Nah, you know what? I want to go to dreary Washington to be the offensive coordinator there with Dan Quinn, and I want to develop a quarterback there, and I want to lose some more. Now, there's a connection there with Caleb Williams, the first pick. We'll see in the upcoming NFL draft. We'll see if he is. If not, if he doesn't want to play in Chicago, there's a connection there with Caleb Williams and Cliff Kingsbury. We'll see if Washington gets on that. I believe they picked second. So the Commanders hiring Cliff Kingsbury as offensive coordinator. What did you think about this, Isaiah?
It's like an hire because it's not a bad hire, but it's not a great hire because the problem is his offenses are really good his first couple of years, and then I noticed the last couple of years it's absolute like not that great. Yeah, like he finally decided to run the football more when he was in Arizona, but their offensive line was never that great. Kyler Murray was always running for his life. And the passing attack was always mid. So I don't know. Like, I think it's an okay hire. I don't think it's a bad hire, but I think it's a hire to woo Caleb Williams, James, to the nation's capital. I think that's what this hire is. Because Kingsbury, he never really put up a lot of points. When he was the head coach at Arizona, they were okay offensively. But I think they don't make this hire unless Caleb Williams wants this hire. So that's why I think they're going to draft Caleb Williams. I think that the Bears are probably going to, we're probably going to talk about the draft a lot more after the Super Bowl, but I think the Bears are going to keep Justin Fields and run it back and go and Washington, goes and gets Caleb Williams, because remember also Caleb played at USC. Clint coached at USC last season for your Trojans, James. So he runs the same exact offense that Caleb is very comfortable in. So I think that's why they made this hire for Washington.
All right. Now, the Raiders. Since Cliff Kingsbury said, you know what, I'm going to change my mind. I don't want to be here when things get bad. The Raiders basically panic, and they hire Luke Getsy. Damn it. They can never do anything right with the Raiders, it feels like.
Get your true feelings out.
I'm pissed. I'm so pissed because Getsy did not show up well eventually with the Packers. He petered out with Rodgers. And then the Bears. I mean, look, it was all, manufactured to be not tailored for Justin Fields, it felt like. Then once Getsy got with Fields, he played a little better. But what I hear from people about Luke Getsy is that, hey, he loves to throw screens. The Raiders don't throw screens, and if they do, they don't work out well with Adams or whomever. Imagine a screen pass to slow Hunter Renfrow. That would not work out. I am pissed about this move because I felt like the Raiders needed a Cliff Kingsbury. They needed an innovative mind to have a great scheme for the Raider offense, to get in the air more and then mix it up with some runs. We'll see about Josh Jacobs if he stays. I doubt it. But I am pissed about this move for the Raiders. I really am. What did you think about this move? The Raiders getting left out the altar by Kingsbury in Vegas. That sounds familiar. Instead, they get Luke Getsy to be their next offensive coordinator.
James, if you look at my camera, I'm shaking my head and laughing at the same time. That's what I think about this hire. I think it's a laughable hire by the Raiders. When I saw it, I laughed. And I don't know if you heard about this, but the Raiders hired Marvin Lewis as an assistant head coach.
Well, let me mention that, though, because Marvin Lewis was in the building. He was just a advisor, I believe, up in the booth for Antonio Pierce. So he's there to kind of help out things. If something doesn't look as professional, I think Marvin Lewis will come in there and just fix it up a bit. Antonio Pierce, he's coming in, never been a head coach. He was only an intern, but he worked well. The guys like him. So Marvin Lewis being there, it feels like it's kind of a safety blanket because he has all those years in Cincinnati. So I really like that Marvin stayed around.
And then I heard, this was when I was in Hong Kong, and I was laughing at this too. The Raiders are interested reportedly in Hugh Jackson for a spot on the offensive staff.
Well,
The
wait.
Raiders,
Okay, wait. Let me mention. Okay, when he was with the Raiders, he had a couple of good years. They couldn't get over that plateau to the playoffs. What made him look really bad was the years he had in Cleveland, but I think that was a whole mess. So it kind of feels like a reunion in a way for the Raiders and Hugh Jackson. So I didn't mind that move as long as he doesn't. I don't know. As long as he gets back to his old ways when he was in Oakland.
yeah, I mean, you better hope, but I mean, the Getsy move, I agree with you. I don't like this move because I don't get it, you know? Like, the Raiders needed an innovative offensive coach that can push the ball down the field, that can emphasize, like, you know, a college spread style offense where they're just throwing the football down the field. That's what they need. Um, you know, you had Chip Kelly. You interviewed Chip Kelly twice. Chip Kelly would have, I think, been perfect because
Oh
Chip
hell
Kelly,
no!
no, but Chip Kelly's a really good offensive mind. Like he's good at
Yeah,
running, and if the Raiders want to run the football, like you know, emphasize running the football, then okay, then that's a pretty good way to go. Kingsbury's another good way. But I read that the reason why talks broke down was because the Raiders were only offering him 1 year to be the coach, to be
that's
the
all he
offensive
needs to screw
coordinator.
up things. Yeah.
Yeah, so but this Getsy move, like I don't get it. Like if you wanted a pro style offense, go hire Chip Kelly. If you wanted a pro
Mm.
style offense, go hire David Shaw. He's
No,
available. I mean,
no.
his offenses, James, I feel like work better in the NFL than college. Like imagine if you give him like Devontae Adams, like see what he could do with that. I mean, he had Christian McCaffrey, and he made Christian McCaffrey an unknown running back at that time into a star. So I do think that those would have been better, but this move is just laughable because the Bears
Hmm.
fired Getsy for a reason. He made Justin Fields and that whole offense look bad. And then I think when
Hmm.
their quarterbacks coach took over play calling duties, they looked much better. Uh,
Refreshed. Yep.
yeah, much refreshed with the quarterbacks coach calling plays. The offense looks so much better. Getsy, like you mentioned, loves to throw screens. I think the Bears last year was like number 2 in the NFL in screen passes. So get ready for a lot of screen passes, James. A lot of short
Got to
yards.
go forward to win in the NFL. You can't go backwards or straight or to the side. You have to go forward to pick up first downs.
Exactly. I just don't like this hire. Bears fans didn't want him. They basically ran him out of town, and now the Raiders pick him up. It doesn't make any sense. And if I'm a Raider fan, I'd be pissed just like you are.
Okay, so you mentioned Chip Kelly. So I can imagine him getting back into the NFL. Let's say his run at UCLA really runs bad with the Big Ten movement. Um, but man, that whole back and forth with only giving him 1 year, why wouldn't you not take that? Why wouldn't? Why would you not take that job? It's like there's no damn way. You
No,
going on a 1 year deal? It's like that Moneyball movie with the manager or whatever saying like, oh yeah, I'm not working on a 1 year deal, or whatever. Go ahead, as it.
you remember when Hawaii was gonna hire June Jones to be their head coach, and then they
Yeah.
messed it up because they offered him a 2 year deal. Like, who's gonna take a 2 year deal? You really think a proven college coach would take a 2 year deal to rebuild a program? It's the same thing like this. Which coach, offensive coordinator, quarterbacks coach, who's gonna take a 1 year deal? Like, if you even the simplest screw up, you're out of a job. Like, it made
Yeah.
no sense whatsoever why the Raiders offered him that. It just doesn't make any sense.
Isaiah, you mentioned that a 2 year. Why wouldn't you take a 2 year deal? We've seen teams like the Panthers, the Broncos, the Raiders, especially, where they're not afraid to make a move with a coach that still has a lot of years left on the books. They're not afraid to make that move. Like the Broncos, Walmart people, crazy ass David Tepper, moving coaches around like a carousel. We've seen that be a trend lately where, ownership and front offices are not, they're in a rush to win. And they will make crazy moves like that. But yeah, maybe you'll see Chip Kelly back. I'm hoping he learned his lesson from being one of those coaches that couldn't make it from college to NFL.
He's
I'm
better
hoping
than
that'll be
Getsy,
the
I'll
case.
say that.
You know, at this point, he would have been, like we mentioned, more innovative. He would have added some flair, some college flair.
Yep.
Because, you know,
Up tempo.
we're not. I don't know if you talked about Jim Harbaugh going to the Chargers, but that feels like a boost. You know, this division here, again, it's one of the hardest. It's going to be one of the hardest, of course. But with Jim Harbaugh going to the Chargers, they have an identity now. They have a way to play. It's going to be like a college atmosphere in the locker room, at least. People are going to adapt and really like the new attitude maybe the Chargers are going to have with Harbaugh. And that's what I was fearing when all those rumors came about where Harbaugh is leaning toward joining up north in with the Chargers. And I'm just so worried about that. And I just felt like, yeah, a counter strike would be good, getting, you know, someone innovative, someone who just came from college to make those offensive play calls. That would have been fun, but I guess not. All right, enough football. I'm done with damn football. Let's get to the National Basketball Association, the NBA. Obviously, we are so close to the trade deadline. We're so close to the All-Star game here, the All-Star weekend in Indianapolis, Indiana. Again, it was good too when I read about that, is that they're going to be East and West again. It is not a glorified street game where they pick teams. Anyway, so first, let's get to the trade deadline. Then we'll do the team reports. All right. The trade deadline. So in just about 46 hours or less, Isaiah, what are some players you would like to see the Lakers acquire at the deadline? For me, I'll start off. You could give the team report after, and I'll do it with the Clippers after. But for me, I feel like the Clippers don't have to change anything. If anything, try to trade or cut PJ Tucker. But I feel like his best friend, James Harden, won't allow that, or he'll go AWOL. So I feel like the Clippers, years before, they would make these horrible moves that ruin their chances. And then injuries would come up. So I feel like the Clippers should stay put. Now, Isaiah, with the Lakers, we heard LeBron say yesterday, or was it the day before, say, hey, we're good with who we are. We just have to win. I'm fine with the roster the way it is. I don't believe that for a damn second, Isaiah. GM LeBron is going to make some moves. Maybe a good. What do you think the Lakers need? I'm trying to figure out another point guard, because Vincent isn't working out. He got hurt. Vanderbilt got hurt. They need a spark off the bench, it feels like. What are the Lakers going to get at the trade deadline, Isaiah?
Well, and Vanderbilt's hurt too now. I think he's out for like the next month because of a foot injury that he suffered against the Celtics. By the way, shout out to the Lakers for going into Boston. I know Ben is not on the show, so I can actually say this. But shout out to the Lakers for going into Boston without LeBron and without AD. My guy Austin Reeves putting up 32 points, looking like Steph Curry out there. 7 3-pointers that he hit, and the Lakers pulling out the victory. What a game that was!
So embarrassing by Boston to keep them in the game. The Lakers hustle harder. They went out and just played they played at their pace. And the Celtics just were cold. I mean, they live by the 3, die by the 3. They certainly died. It was just embarrassing. The Celtics lost that game in Boston. Again, no AD, no Bron. Just ridiculous. And now those rumors came up where it's like, hey, without Bron and AD, the Lakers, they look better. but I don't think that's the case. I don't think they would survive without those two. All right, Isaiah, I'll let you go on. I was just pissed about that game, the way that
Well, I mean,
Boston came out.
they've won. They've actually won 3 straight. They beat the Knicks,
Yeah.
but that was because the Knicks, I don't think had no, they had Jalen Brunson, they had DiVincenzo.
Julius
but they
Randle
were-
got hurt.
Yep.
He's going to be out a little bit.
Yep, a lot of the Knicks players were hurt that game, and then
And then OG Anunoby had an elbow injury too, so he didn't play. It was
He
only
didn't play,
Brunson
exactly.
pretty much.
and then they played the Hornets. And I mean the poor Hornets. Good lord, that team, like we talked about before the show, James.
Yeah.
That team's always rebuilding, and LaMelo Ball. I think we need to start having that conversation about him being injury prone because that guy missed another game. I mean, this is like he came back. He played 1 game, and now he's been out for like 5 games. And I think I put out
Right.
somewhere like last year or 2 years ago when he first got drafted that's going to be the face of the league in 2026. So,
You did mention that, and then I think last week you sent me a message saying, "Okay, the top 5 players in the NBA right now," and LaMelo Ball was number 5, and I'm like, "What?"
Oh no, that was my top 5 point guards of the 2000s.
Still, he's not.
So-
Oh, that's ridiculous. Okay. Oh my God, I was dreaming, or I wasn't dreaming. Yikes!
Right there, James. Right there. That's your
That
list
is
right there.
ridiculous. No one, he's not even on the list because
No,
luckily
he's
the
on the-
banners.
he's-
I
he's
know
on the
the
list.
banners blocking. Oh, okay. That is horrible.
All right,
That
hey,
is
before,
Absolutely. Where's Tony Parker at, dog? Finals MVP, 4-time champion, whatever it is. Dog. Tony Parker's better than Chauncey Billups, Rondo, and Ball's not even a question.
I will do my best Molly Kiram impersonation about Stephen A's list. James, if you had to give a grade, if you had to begrudgingly give a grade, what grade would you give this list?
Spell F. Well, no, because look, okay. I see Curry, I see Nash, I kind of see Billups, but he would be like 5. Rondo, I don't want to
Champion?
give him that much credit. Yeah, but then he quit on teams.
Yeah.
For me, I just felt like Tony Parker. That dude is going to be a Hall of Famer. And then you just add someone else in there. There's just so many more that's better than what you have. I mean, for the limited time we had John Wall.
Yeah.
Chris Paul, duh. You could throw in Chris Paul. I think he's better than Rondo. There's no doubt about that.
That's a debate, yeah.
No. Chris Paul led teams. Rondo just happened to be the point guard on teams that had better players with him. So I would have Curry, Nash, Chris Paul, Tony Parker, and then either Rondo or Billups. But I want to add somebody else. Honestly,
You want to add LaMelo?
no, hell no. He's not even the best of the 2020s. Like
So
you have all these guys from last decade or whatever, 2 decades ago. But when it comes to the 2020 point guards, you have Jalen Brunson. I would take over LaMelo Ball. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. There's no doubt I would take him over LaMelo Ball.
No,
dude.
I agree with you on that. Actually, I would
That is
agree with you.
ridiculous.
But is he a point guard though, or is he a shooting guard?
No, he's a
SGA.
point guard. Well, he was beginning to be a point guard, and then I think he's grown up, pun intended, in Oklahoma City. That dude, all-star, he's fantastic. I'd put him over
Yeah.
Ball. But Luka Doncic, it's like, dude.
He's a forward though. I don't think he's
he's a point guard. He brings the ball up. Dude, I can name so many more players better than LaMelo Ball in the 2020s. That is anyway. What are the Lakers going to get at the trade deadline? What are they going to do?
So basically, long story short, James's grade for my list is an F minus,
Hell yeah.
basically. Fans, feel free to comment, chime in on that list. But in terms of the trade targets, listen, the Lakers need a point guard, obviously, because D'Angelo Russell, he's playing great right now. But the problem with D'Angelo Russell is that we see this in the regular season all the time. He always plays great, and then there's spurts he plays great, but then when it matters the most, he's nowhere to be found. Like
That's true.
he always. There's a lot of games he plays great, and then sometimes, he's averaging, he puts up 6 points, or he puts up 9 points. He's very inconsistent. So until I see that in the playoffs, and until I see it consistently in the playoffs, I just can't buy it. So for me, the Lakers need a point guard. They need a third star. And that's why the next topic we'll talk about, it sucked that Zach LaVine got hurt, because that was the guy that I really wanted for the Lakers. But now that he's out for the year,
wait, he's not a point guard.
That is true, but you needed that third difference maker, though. D'Angelo Russell can't be that third difference maker because he's always inconsistent. That's the problem.
So, if you had LeVine or Murray, is Reeves the point guard or LeBron?
Reeves would be the point guard. I feel like Reeves as the point guard, the offense is just so much smoother with him running the point. So
remember last time I was on programming here, how I would construct the Lakers, right? It was Reeves. Jackson Hayes has been stepping up lately, especially in that Knicks game. I want to see more from Christian Wood. I feel like he's just he's not loose. And then Raj Hachimura, that guy's been good as of late too. So they're getting contributions at the right time. It's almost like they're playing well enough not to, or maybe they're wanting to be traded somewhere else. That's what it feels like with the Lakers every trade deadline. Go ahead, real quick.
Yeah, I think, just to wrap it up, I think for me the targets are DeJounte Murray. You need another difference maker. Either DeJounte Murray, if you can't get him, if he's too pricey, go get Colin Sexton, because Colin Sexton has looked like a star with the Utah Jazz. He's been averaging 20 points, 24 points a game.
No.
He's a baller, dude. That guy can ball, and he can definitely put the ball into the hoop. And then, James, you're gonna laugh at me for this. The Lakers need they need a difference maker, a third difference maker. They need a defender, a wing defender. PJ Tucker. Give me PJ Tucker.
Why not? You take him.
Yeah. Because the Clippers have no use for him because they're so deep. But for the Lakers, I mean, he could defend. He could be that physical forward that can defend the perimeter. So I would gladly take him.
He would cost you nothing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we could literally give you our second round pick, Colin Castleton from last year, and then
what's that one dude with the initials? They picked him instead of Jaime Hawkins Jr. He's on your bench right now.
Jalen Hood-Schifino.
Yeah, I would try him and just have him for the future. Trade him over for Tucker. We got a deal.
All right, yeah, we got a deal right there.
Hell yeah.
And then, honestly, I would, and you might laugh at me. The Bulls are going to trade, right? They're going to trade their players because they have they're not that good right now.
Yeah.
I would not mind Andre Drummond coming back from the Lakers.
You did it before.
Hey, dude, there were rumors that the Celtics and the Lakers are teams that have expressed interest in Andre Drummond. So I don't think Andre Drummond would even come at a deep price. I think he would come at a cheap price. So he would be good because he could be either the starter or he could be the backup center. He could just play a few minutes, he's good in terms of giving you points in the paint. So I would take that. And James, I got a hot take for you. If the Lakers don't make any moves this deadline, it would signal that the Lakers are they're trying to save up for the offseason, because then they would have potentially three first-round picks to trade for a superstar. If I'm the Los Angeles Lakers and they don't do anything this offseason, I would move on from LeBron James and I would go get LaMelo Ball from the Charlotte Hornets. I would trade three first-round picks to the Hornets for LaMelo Ball. I would do it, James. But go ahead.
That's fine. That's fine. That destroy your franchise. I'm fine with that. You already had one ball in the building. Why would you have another? There's no way.
Because
What about
LaMelo
Kyle Lowry? Let me ask you about Kyle Lowry. Why haven't the Lakers taken a flyer on him since he's out there?
Well, because they don't want to trade for him in his contract. They want the Hornets to buy him out so that they can sign him to a veteran minimum deal. And I do believe if Lowry doesn't get moved at the deadline, I don't know who's gonna want Lowry. Honestly, it's a big deal. But if he doesn't get moved, I think he's gonna get bought out, and I think LA is definitely a viable option for him. But I mean, honestly, so far though, James, this trade deadline has been unlike the others. Like, it's been so slow. Like, even you didn't even know about the trade deadline was this Thursday. That's how slow it's been. So,
Because they just changed it maybe a couple years ago, and it used to be after the All-Star break. Now it's before I remember last year now when it was, because there's more games you could play together with. I could see that. That's why I guess
KD got traded. KD, Kyrie got traded at the deadline last year. Yeah.
Maybe that's why it was more notable last year, just because there's not as sexier names. Let me get to the Clippers real quick. So the Clippers, they don't need to do anything at the deadline, like I mentioned. They actually moved to first place in the whole Western Conference. Remember, this is a team that traded for James Harden. They started the season 3-7. Everything was crumbling and still could. I mean, injuries could happen at the worst time. But they are sizzling right now. They just came off a Grammy road trip in the East Coast in which they went 6-1 in 7 games. They were awesome. The Pelicans will come to LA to play. Actually, it's midnight here on the West Coast, so tonight at 7, it will be the New Orleans Pelicans and the Clippers. I remember I think they split so far this year, getting a road win at each matchup. So, again, Harden's doing well. He's meshing well with the others. Everybody has kind of fit into what role they should kind of be in. It feels like, though, Paul George has kind of taken a back seat. He's still, of course, starting, but I feel like he is not the ball handler mainly anymore. He is the guy that either Harden or Kawhi will get the ball to for a quick 3 to beat the shot clock. I mean, he's still very explosive, is Paul George, but it feels like Harden being the main ball handler along with Kawhi when he does his 3-pointers, when he has his mid-range going, when he's not afraid at all to drive the lane and dunk on people. And they just got back Zubac. So their only loss, again, was against the Cleveland Cavaliers on this road trip. And that was a game they could have had. But they just went cold at the end in Tyronn Lue's return to Cleveland. Let's see. Like I mentioned, the Clippers, they're playing really well. Their record right now stands again at first place in the West and in the Pacific at 34-15. They are on a 4-game winning streak. Again, they play the Pelicans at on ESPN actually tonight, and then Detroit and Minnesota are the opponents Saturday and Monday. And then they go on another road trip at San Francisco with the Warriors, and then Oklahoma City and Memphis. And then they come home to play Sacramento, the Lakers, and Washington. So that is a full schedule there to end the month of February. But the Clippers right now, again, 34-15. Leonard's doing his thing. He's been hot. The last 6 games here, 5 out of the 6 wins against 7, 6 out of 7 on the road. And in their last, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games, the Clippers are 8-1 since the first of January 16th. And let me also mention this too about the Clippers before I move on. They have the best record, and they lead a lot of categories since December 1st. So it felt like once they got the jitters out of the way of having Harden the first month, they put it all together. They have the best record. They have the most points per game. Defensively, they're not as locked in. That's what's going to kill them, I think, is that you're looking at these scores and they're giving up 120, 125, 115. I know everyone does, but this is a team of, older defensive players, veteran players. And I'm just hoping in the playoffs, hey, where everything hopefully slows down, that they can show their worth and really stifle teams. That's what I'm really hoping for. Again, the Clippers are doing well right now, but in the playoffs, we got to see how they do. So let's get to the second topic of the NBA segment here. So Bulls guard Zach LaVine will have surgery on his injured foot and will miss the remainder of the season. Isaiah mentioned that he was a definite trade piece before the deadline here. Rumored to go to the Lakers and whomever. Now that reality or that dream has now become a reality for Isaiah, for the Lakers. They'll have to go back and plan B, C, D, E, F, G, who knows. But for the Bulls, it hurts too, because you could have traded him in the offseason. You could have traded him 2 years ago, 3 years ago. So many years ago, you could have traded Zach LaVine, and the Bulls haven't. And it feels like, they have 2 years left on his deal or 3 years? It just feels like they're just stuck with him. I don't know.
He's actually, so after this year, I looked
Is he a free agent?
No, he's actually entering after this year. He's actually entering the beginning of a 4-year max extension. So that was why teams were wary of him, because he's entering the beginning of a 4-year max extension that will see him get paid, James, $50 million per year.
God, jeez. Yeah, I'm not touching him at all. Okay,
that might be the worst contract in basketball, honestly.
That reminds me of the MLB deals. You're getting someone injured and older, but you're paying him the most. That is ridiculous. Anyway, what's your feeling on the news about Zach LaVine? You know how it affects your team, but I want to know, how does it affect the Bulls, where he's unmovable when you think about it?
Well, first of all, when I saw this news, I immediately fell onto my bed in despair, because I was like, that was the piece, James, that was going to take the Lakers to number 18. I had dreams of LeBron, AD, and Zach LaVine holding the Larry O'Brien trophy and holding it up after beating either the Celtics or the Heat this next finals and winning it all. Like, that's how explosive the Lakers would have been. Who's going to stop LaVine, AD, and LeBron together, man? The only thing that would stop us is injuries. That's it. But outside of injuries, no team, and I don't even think your Clippers would have been able to stop us. Maybe the Clippers, but that would have been a really good Western Conference Finals matchup. But it just sucks that the Lakers aren't going to be able to get him, because he would have definitely been the piece to take us over the top, even though you would have had to give up a lot. But now, this hurts not only the Lakers, but you're right, this hurts the Bulls, because it completely destroys any trade value that Zach LaVine has. Before, he didn't even have a lot of trade value. Now, with his injury, I think this is his third season-ending injury in a span of 5-6 years. Like, he's been injured so often that I don't think anybody's going to touch him. I think the Chicago Bulls are probably going to have to, sadly, if they want to get rid of him, they probably will have to dangle a first-round pick with LaVine in order to get rid of him, because that contract, like you mentioned, $50 million plus the next 4 years, it's terrible. So they should have traded him before, like, not even the deadline. They should have traded him back in December when this news first broke. So now I don't think any team is going to want him unless you dangle a first-round pick to get him. So that's a big blow for the Bulls. It's also a blow for the Bulls in this aspect, because the Chicago Bulls, James, surprisingly, they're only 9th in the Eastern Conference. I mean, they could easily get into the playoffs still. And with Zach LaVine, if he was healthy, I mean, Zach LaVine would have provided you that boost offensively that could have kept you into the playoffs as like a 7th or 8th seed in the Eastern Conference. So that's another big blow for the Bulls. But I mean, you're right; they have been playing well without him. So maybe that they will keep that momentum up. But Zach LaVine, he's an injury-prone player now, and I mean, any little injury, because that foot injury that he suffered when I saw it originally, I was like, it's not even that bad. It's not that bad. He just hurt a little bit, and now it's season ending. So it's a bad day for Bulls fans. It's a bad day for Laker fans, and for Zach LaVine. I mean, the guy is turning into the next Bradley Beal and John Wall, like those guys that have a lot of potential, but they just can't stay healthy.
So for the Bulls, I'm wondering, does DeRozan have the power if he doesn't get traded? Do you think somehow, some way, they go out and get Kyle Lowry to match up again with DeRozan, his best friend, just for fun?
I think they could. But if you're Lowry, right, and you're looking at the options, you have the Lakers potentially going after you. You have Philly potentially going after you. You have Chicago going after you. I know he's your best friend, but you want to win a championship. So what's the best option, right? Like, I think Philly and the Lakers are definitely better options than the Chicago Bulls at this point. But they probably will have to go after him because DeRozan's, I believe, a free agent after this year. So, I mean, I don't know why there's no talk about the Bulls trading DeRozan because they need to keep him or they need to get rid of him and get some assets back in return because I don't see any situation whatsoever that DeMar DeRozan is going to stick around in Chicago, especially if let's say they barely get into the playoffs or they get knocked out of the play-in tournament for him to stick because he's what, 35 years old now, and he's going to be entering like the last couple of years of his prime or his good years that he doesn't want to waste on a team that's not competing for a championship.
All right, so let's get out of the NBA topics. Let's get to our MLB team reports, and they're going to be laughable as hell. I'll start off with the Angels. So, Shohei is not in the building. He is up north with the Dodgers, of course. So, damn it. The Angels, not really being aggressive toward, the big names. They are penny pitching here with free agents and trades. They did sign on February 3rd, right-hand pitcher reliever from the Tigers, 1-year deal. Jose Cincero, he is a relief pitcher, like I mentioned, right-hander for $1.75 million. Cincero has some good breaking ball stuff, but he's known to walk a few. He is 34 years of age. He does have a high ERA, so he's going to fit in well with the Angels. Also in the bullpen, I don't know if you call it retooling, refurbishing, or just putting something on the wall hoping it sticks. But they went out and got Robert Stevenson and paid a lot, a 3-year deal. He was with the Rays, and now he's an Angel. Matt Moore came back to the Angels for more disappointment. He was maybe their best reliever of the year before he was given to Cleveland last year. Luis Garcia came back. He's awful. Adam Simber leaving Cleveland to the Angels, that might be an okay move, but it doesn't move the needle.
Wasn't he injured before already, or am I wrong?
No, I think he was a Padre before. And then Adam Kolarek, he is also a reliever. Again, he doesn't move the needle. The Angels.
So James, sorry to cut you off, but I had him in Oakland like 2 years ago. The guy was coming off a really good season with the Dodgers when they won the World Series. When he was with the A's, he put up like an 8.26 ERA, and he got DF. Or no, he got sent to the minors twice, and then he got DFA'd in the same year. So that was
You're talking about Kolarek?
Yeah, Adam Kolarek. Yeah.
Okay.
Lefty.
So
gives up a lot of home runs too.
Shit. Just we'll see if he can make the MLB roster or get sent to Salt Lake City or DFA'd. The Angels did acquire right-hander Carlos Espinoza, who, in exchange for Trey Cabbage, the first baseman outfielder that couldn't find his niche with the Angels last year. So that was really unfortunate. Angels did go out and sign Aaron Hicks. Oh my God. And he's going to compete in left field with Joe Adele, kind of show him some stuff. He's an okay outfielder. He has a great arm, though. He does have a great arm. And remind you this, the Angels are paying him only the league vet minimum. The Yankees are paying for him not only for this season, but next season for 24 and 25. So it's a low risk, high reward move for the Angels to get Aaron Hicks. It seems like they struck out on Adam Duvall. He's still out there. And then whatever other outfielders were out there, the Angels are not going to sign him. Again, the league minimum. So the Yankees went out and just broke the bank for him. And that was a very awful move, but it benefits the Angels for sure. So getting Matt Moore is cool, but again, there's not much. Zach Plesac. The Angels, again, going to Goodwill for their pitching this season. Zach Plesac, who is kind of he's had a rough season. He had a rough season last year. He's only 28 years of age, but he had so much promise, especially like 3 years ago. He was on his game. And then last year he had a 7.59 ERA. He's not as good anymore. He fared better in his first 4 seasons. And then 23-24, last year was just a struggle. So that's all the Angels have done, honestly. They haven't done much. What about your A or whomever you like, Isaiah? I don't know anymore.
Can you guys just spare me the awfulness of being an A's fan and just let me be a Texas Rangers fan already? Because
You're a Ranger. Okay, you're a Ranger fan.
Yes, I'm a Rangers fan. Let's go.
Are you keeping Jordan Montgomery or no?
I would, because the Rangers need pitching. I mean, for some reason, the Texas Rangers have been I don't know what they've been doing. I mean, like, I know they don't have a lot of money to spend because of the Bally Sports stuff that's going on right now. But it just seems like after they won the World Series, the Rangers have been hit with a lot of crap and just crap all off season. First, it turns out that Max Scherzer, his back injury that he suffered, in which he thought he pulled a muscle, turns out it's a herniated disc, and he's going to miss half the season now because he's undergoing surgery. Jacob deGrom, he spoke at FanFest the other day. He's going to be out until halfway point of the season, and I think at that point, James, and I don't know what you'll say about that, but would you make Scherzer and deGrom relievers at this point? Because Scherzer's got 1 year left. DeGrom's got that 4 year left. Maybe DeGrom, you have to put him in the starting rotation.
In the playoffs, I would.
Yeah, but I don't know if they can hold up. Like, do you trust DeGrom to stay healthy for a full half year?
That might be the worst contract in MLB right now.
Yeah.
And Anthony Rendon, those two.
Isn't Rendon, he's still on the Angels, right? Or you guys cut
off? He's got 3 more seasons left, and he's making 30... I think it's 36, 38, and 38 million in those 3 years left. And he doesn't like the game of baseball, but he sort of enjoys playing it. Anyway.
But yeah, I mean, the Rangers have had bad news after bad news after bad news. And then, by the way, 2 weeks before FanFest, we found out that, Corey Seager, he pulled a muscle in his groin, or he had a hernia. That he played through in the World Series, and I mean, James, imagine Seager could have potentially been out for the World Series had he not decided to suck it up, and played through it. But he played through it; they won it, and now Seager is going to be out all of spring training. So it's just been bad news after bad news after bad news, and the Rangers, they signed David Robertson, they lost Aroldis Chapman to the freaking Pirates.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I know, right? But they lost. They signed David Robertson, so I think David Robertson's better than Aroldis Chapman at this point. So uh, the bullpen in the late innings isn't going to be as scary as it was. But the Rangers, they got to keep Jordan Montgomery. They got to do whatever they can to keep Jordan Montgomery, and you got to make another move to that bullpen because you can't just rely um, on your I forget his name. I'm blanking on it right now.
Leclerc.
Leclerc, yeah, Leclerc.
Those
In the
guys really grew up in the postseason. I mean, they
did.
took their blows, but they actually threw some blows. I mean, they
Yeah.
they grew up. Now it's just can they be consistent?
Can
And
they
there's some
be
other guys
consistent?
in that bullpen too. Remember, they did also lose Will Smith
Yep.
to the Royals, I think.
Yeah, Chris Stratton
Yeah.
too to the Royals. And we'll
Wow.
talk about the Royals in a bit. But yeah, they lost Chris Stratton. They lost Will Smith. I actually like Stratton, but sad to
Yeah.
see him go. But the Rangers, I feel like need more bullpen help. And also they need to fortify the rotation because right now you have Andrew Heaney, Martin Perez is gone. You have Scherzer, DeGrom coming back later on in the year. Jordan Montgomery, he's the free agent. There's a lot of holes in that rotation. I think like this free agent market, James, it's going to clear up in the next couple of days, hopefully, because spring training is next week. I mean, can you believe that? Spring training starts next week, Tuesday. Pitchers and catchers report next week, Tuesday. So that's how crazy it is. I think you're going to see a lot more action in the next couple of days. Maybe the Rangers. I'm Texas. I go out and get Cody Bellinger just to counter what the Astros did with Josh Hader, or bring back Jordan Montgomery, and maybe go get Blake Snell because you definitely need another arm in that rotation. James, go ahead. What do you have to say? You're muted, by the way.
I want to get Snell. And then the thing I heard about Montgomery is that him and his wife, they're in Boston. And the Red Sox, for some reason, are not going after him. And he's right there. That makes me believe either he's going to go back to Texas if they can free up money, or he's going to be a Red Sox eventually. But he's literally right there in Boston, and he's not going anywhere. And then Martin Perez, I saw he went to the Pirates. I'm thinking to myself, man, the Angels could have used him. You know, Chapman could have been used with the Angels as well. You know, you
Trade
mentioned
piece,
Stratton,
yeah.
Stratton or Will Smith. And the Angels aren't getting any of these guys.
Well, and Stratton was solid. He had a 3.74 ERA last year. He wasn't bad. He's a
I would take that.
Yeah, he's a multi-hitting reliever. So, I mean, the Rangers are like a lot of most of the teams in baseball. They haven't done anything much this offseason except sign David Robertson. Let's go to the team, however, that's been the busiest team of this past week in free agency. And James, that was the A's. I mean, the A's were the busiest team in free agency this past week. They acquired Ross Stripling in a trade.
I did see that.
They actually spent money. They're taking on Ross Stripling's final year, and he's making $9 million. And also, they signed Alex Wood, formerly of the Giants, for $7 million. So our aces in the rotation is going to be Ross Stripling and Alex Wood.
Wood's been coming out of the bullpen as of late, though.
Exactly, but he the reason why he signed that big deal with the A's, the 1 year $7 million, is because the A's reportedly promised him a starting spot in the rotation. So
they have nobody else, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, good for the A's. I mean, Stripling is a solid pitcher, gives up a lot of homers, so maybe the pitching in the Coliseum will help him. Alex Wood, don't really know what to make about him. I mean, hopefully he's solid, but
he's kind of been faltering the last couple of years. Yeah. He hasn't been the same when he was a Dodger. Right.
Yeah.
It's almost a I can't explain it, but I mean, those are good deals for the A's.
They're most likely going to trade them if they have a good year. So hopefully they do have a good year and then they get dealt. I mean, the A's are a mess. You guys know the whole Vegas saga. I mean, the Vegas mayor today went out public and said, I think the A's should just scrap their Vegas plan and just stay in the Bay Area. So we'll see what happens with that. And dude, I heard this the other day that the A's, the owner is so cheap he hasn't even fundraised half of the money that he promised to fundraise on his side. That they're talking about reportedly reducing the ballpark and not adding a roof. So
Oh my God!
Way to go, Oakland, John Fisher. You're gonna make people sit in 115-degree heat. Oh my God! It's gonna be like.
Dude.
Remember Globe Life Field in Arlington when it was like 120 degrees and they were playing baseball and
that's a desert.
Exactly.
That's a desert, dude.
The A's are just a mess. It's utterly pathetic what's going on right now. I am going back to work for them this coming season because it might be the final year, and I want to say goodbye to my amazing coworkers. So maybe, hopefully, they put up a good product. But I mean, it's just been a crap show. But yeah, I mean, and then the Phillies haven't done anything. So
no,
really
I didn't see anything.
Yeah, there's really nothing to report on them. So those are the reports for me.
Dude, with the A's, I'm just thinking to myself, man, you can't stay where you are, and you can't stay around there. Where do you go? Orlando, Nashville? I'm running out of places for them.
Well, they're thinking they were touring around Salt Lake City the other day.
Yeah.
There were reports they might play at the Salt Lake City Bees ballpark, but why, if you're the Angels, your division rival, would you really let the A's play your AAA ballpark? Like, it makes
there wouldn't be any more Salt Lake City Bees. The Angels would have to find another AAA place to go.
But then
it would just be like the Aviators in Las Vegas.
Yeah, that is true, but then it just makes no sense. I mean, now they're talking about reducing the ballpark. The Las Vegas mayor is saying that they should just stay in Oakland. And oh, by the way, I saw this just now that the group that represents the teachers in Vegas just filed a lawsuit against the A's to try to stop the ballpark. So a lot of legal issues to sort out.
Because they need money for schools, not ballparks.
Yep, exactly.
That's what I see from this. Yikes. Let's talk about the opposite of the A's right now, what's going on in the MLB. The Baltimore Orioles, they've had a good week when you think about it. Good couple of days here. Not only did the Angelos, they're going to sell the Orioles to an investor, Baltimore investor, a group there to keep them there. But they did make a mammoth splash to get Brewers ace pitcher Corbin Burnes from the Brewers in exchange for a couple of prospects and a draft pick, which will be the 34th overall and the 2024 pick. They had to give up only Joey Diaz, and I looked him up. I had to do a show on Sunday about this, and he's the 67th or 63rd ranked prospect in MLB. That's it. And then DL Hall, he's a left-hander. He's kind of the back of rotation guy. He's like a fourth or fifth starter. You saw him with the Orioles last year, and he fared well. But I know Burnes, he's making, 18.5 this year, a little more. And then he's a free agent. So it feels like the Brewers, they kind of got fleeced on this, unless DL Hall and Ortiz turns into stars, all-stars, which is highly doubtful. And maybe that 34th pick they got, maybe that will turn into something. But the Orioles, and general manager Mike Elias said Burnes was his number one on his wish list, and they got him. So a team that has a plethora of young talent, they have a city behind them, they have fans behind them, management's behind them, ownership is behind them now. They have everything going right for them, and they go out and get the best pitcher available. I'll say for in the trade value for at least this season. Now he can go in there with his veteran know-how. Remember, he won the Cy Young Award, I think, in 21. he's a guy that I was hoping the Angels would go get. They'll probably strike out on Shane Bieber as well. But man, the Orioles, it seemed like they fleeced the Brewers on this trade and only makes them stronger. What do you think about this deal for the Orioles? And, you know, I know they won the East last year, 103 games, I believe they won. Can they advance more in the playoffs now instead of, you know, being just, what was that, wild card? Can they now
Divisional round.
Or it was division round against Texas. That's right. I forgot. They got that bye. So first, I guess I'll ask you about the Angelo selling, and then about Corbin Burns going to the Orioles a day later. I think it was that came out, or no, a couple days later. But it's a good time to be an Oriole fan. What do you think?
First of all, Baltimore Oriole fans everywhere should have went down to Camden Yards ballpark and just grabbed bottles of champagne and popped it, because
They did.
you are now free from one of the cheapest, most awful owners in all of baseball, and you're free from it. And now you're going to an owner that's actually willing to spend, willing to invest in the team, and actually put out a great product on the baseball field. I mean, me and James want that. We want to be away from John Fisher. We want to be away from Artie Moreno. Like, we want that. And the Orioles unexpectedly, when nobody even thought the Orioles were going to be sold, they got it. And it's a great time to be an Oriole. James, I think that the Orioles, I mean, there's an earthquake budding in Baltimore, because, you know, this Orioles franchise has been starved for success for so long. They got a general manager that runs things like the Astros do without the cheating. They build through the system. They have you see where I had to go with there. But they do it without the cheating. They have multiple great prospects coming up. They have a young team that's already ready to win now. They've got great line of prospects coming up left and right, and their farm system is so damn rich, even with this trade. You know, now they're going to be having owners that's willing to spend money. That's the problem with the Angels, was they never wanted to spend, and they would never spend, and, you know, it would handcuff the GM. So that's why everybody was like, okay, you have a great GM, you have a great farm system, it's pumping out great players left and right, you have a team ready to win now, but your owner's not going to invest. Well, now you have an owner ready to invest, and I think this is the most significant thing that a lot of people aren't talking about, is that the Orioles are going to be able to spend. They're going to be able to give out $200-300 million contracts. They're going to sign a lot of players and give out a lot of money to those players, and basically be like what Steve Cohen is to the Mets, or basically what the Yankees are when it comes to investing in the team. So Baltimore's coming, and they're going to be here for a long, long time, and they're going to be the next Astros for sure, with how they have a great farm system, they got a great young team, and now they got owners ready to invest. So Baltimore, be joyful that you got out of the Angelos, because now you are going to be treated to a great product on the field each and every night. In terms of the blockbuster, I was shocked when this went down, James, because I was in Hong Kong. I was sleeping, and when I woke up, I saw like Corbin Burns got traded to the Orioles. I was like, oh my God. Like, finally, something big has happened in baseball, because it's been so slow the last month, 2 months in the baseball off season. This off season has been so slow. So finally, something like this has happened, and I was surprised that he went to the Orioles, because I thought he was going to go to the Dodgers. I know there's one guy on this network that's been saying he's going to go to the Dodgers. I thought he was going to go to the Yankees. I thought maybe the Red Sox would get him, but for Baltimore to get him, I mean, it's great for them, because also last year, I felt like when they went to the playoffs, I felt like what they were missing was an established starting pitcher and ace. Grayson Rodriguez is great, but he's so young. He never had that playoff experience prior to last year. And then what was that other guy's name that really dominated? That was their ace last year. Wasn't it Brazier or something like that? That's his name.
Ryan Brazier.
No, it was.
Oh no,
he started game one. I forget his
I'll
name.
look him up.
It was like Kyle something, not Gibson, but another guy.
Yeah, I'll look him up.
Yeah, while James looks him up, yeah, I mean their rotation did not have a lot of like that established dominant.
Kyle Bradish.
What is it?
Kyle Bradish.
Kyle Bradish, yeah. Bradish was great. He was really,
Dog.
really good, but he didn't have postseason experience
Right.
just like Grayson Rodriguez. And now you add a guy like Corbin Burns that's been there in the playoffs, that's pitched in big games, that has dominated in big games. I think it's really going to help him in that rotation because I felt like also Kyle Bradish wasn't really a 1. He was more of a 2.
Right, not yet.
A fringe 1, maybe a fringe 1, but he was more of a 2, and then Rodriguez sliding in at the 3, I think it's definitely perfect for him. So it's a great trade for the Orioles. Definitely puts the Yankees, the Rays, and all those teams in the AL East on notice. And for Burns, it's great because he gets to pitch in that, like, yeah, Baltimore is not really that hitters friendly. It's a big ballpark.
Not as it used to be in left field. Remember, they moved the wall back 30 feet.
Yeah, exactly. They moved the wall back 30 feet. So that's why you don't see a lot of home runs going out now. So I think it's a great trade for the Orioles, for both Burns and Baltimore.
You know, thinking about the Orioles, and it's the unfortunate part of the business, but when you have all those young players, eventually the time will come when you have to pay them all, or you realize, hey, we have someone in the minors that can replace that guy. They're blessed, and then they're also cursed in that way. So eventually the management will have to make those moves. But right now you're just trying to fit in whoever you can. Whoever produces will be starting, you know. So it's great to see. I wish this would happen for the Angels. Like everything that's happening for the Orioles, the opposite for the Angels. When the Angels should have, you know, tore down everything and sold. I was hoping they would be in
sold, but he didn't sell though.
Yeah, but no, he should have sold or not been so hands-on. And I think a renaissance, like we're seeing with the Orioles, would have happened with the Angels. That is what is making me sad in a way, but it's happy times because I don't want anybody else in that division winning.
No.
Other from the Rays. I mean, the Rays, you know, they do how they do. They do their things. They just trade whoever they want. They try to get the best prospects back or somebody that isn't on the radar of others. They somehow turn them into all-stars, and then they eventually get traded. But with the Orioles, hopefully, man, with Angelo's gone, and the thing is, we heard from a lot of people, especially Foul Territory, the great show online on YouTube with Brzezinski, the other guys. I always heard from them with the Angelos, where it's like, man, that dude is saying the worst stuff. Remember he said, I think in September, or was it August of 2023, he's like, hey, we have all this young talent, but eventually a lot of them won't be here because we can't pay them all. Well, I know you feel that way. I know it seems that way, but damn it, don't say that out loud when you have something good starting up. Like, that kind of was a death blow for the fans of Baltimore, for the media, the mainstream media, for the MLB, just everyone. Once he said that, you just knew he had to sell. They had to sell. So you mentioned first with the fans.
Yeah.
Somebody told me, by the way, check out Halos in the Infield for all your Angel news. There isn't any. Any notable news, but check out the podcast there. But they actually had fans come down to the ballpark. And remind you, you know, this is right after Ravens playoff loss. But they came down to celebrate in frigid temperatures that Angelos sold the team. So this was something that everybody was waiting for who goes for the O's. Speaking of teams trying to uplift themselves, who have been down for a while, but did taste some success long ago, the Kansas City Royals lock up star shortstop Bobby Witt Jr., to an 11-year, $288 million extension. Now, Witt is getting the largest franchise deal in the history of the Kansas City Royals. This new deal, he's the team's first $100 million contract man ever. So this locks up someone that you have to keep and build around, and hopefully more talent will come up. They really need to. But this is a good move for Kansas City. It's amazing too. You're seeing teams lock up these young players. It happened here in San Diego with Tatis Jr. It happened with he ain't there anymore. But the dude in Tampa Bay, Franco. Remember they locked him up, and now he's kind of locked up. Not really. But we're seeing teams do this with their young players, and it's great to see because this is kind of how it was back then, but without the money, when players wouldn't be able to get free agency, where they had to stay where they were or ask for a trade or transfer. But in a time where everybody's signing big free agents deals and having to leave the teams, it's refreshing to see these young guys get these team-friendly deals. But eventually, you're going to have to pay him at the end. But who knows what's going to happen in the long career. So with this deal for Bobby Witt Jr., what do you think about it for the Royals? And then what do you think about Bobby Witt Jr.? Is he going to excel toward the top of the league? Will he be, continuing to rise but not be there yet in 2024? Will the Royals, with their off-season moves, will they be somewhat respectable like the Tigers were last year? Or will we see the same old from Kansas City?
Well, before I get into the Royals, James, I wanted to make one more point about the Burns deal, and that is, we talked about how it's great for the Orioles, how it's great for the Oriole fans, how it's great for Burns. I think that, and I hope that this is also great for baseball fans, because I hope that this is a domino to fall in which it's going to be a busy next few days, because spring training is going to be, it's coming up, it's in a few days. And this offseason has been way too slow. I think this has been the worst or one of the slowest off seasons we've seen in so long. And I think we talked about this before, like in December, when everybody was like, oh my God, let's do a winter meetings watch party. And, and there was like nothing going on. We're going to do a winter meetings watch party, but there was nothing going on. And everybody was like so excited, like, oh, after Shohei signs, and you're going to have this guy go, this guy fall, then this guy fall, then this guy fall, then this guy fall. Like, it's going to be a domino effect, but there's been nothing. And hopefully this now will be that domino effect that makes everything fall, especially with spring training starting in a couple of days. Hopefully, like guys like, with Burns going, that this opens up the trade market and the starting pitching market with Shane Bieber potentially getting traded, guys like Jesus Luzardo potentially getting traded, and also guys like Dylan Cease, who has been rumored for so long, traded. So, James, I'll let you make your point.
Real quick, I was going to ask you a question. Now, I heard that at the last winter meetings, there was a virus going around, so that's why it had to end, early. But then again, there was such a long period of time before, between like big signings or big news. Do you think it has something to do with the owners and of course the Bally, Diamond Sports Group, the Amazon saving their ass? But do you think it had to do with the owners just being, frugal with their money, frugal with their spending, knowing what the future could hold for those teams that are not locked up in TV deals? Do you think it was the owners like 2019, I think, when Harper and Machado both signed in spring training? Do you think we're back at that, where owners are waiting till the last second for making deals?
Yeah, I do. And it's sad because we thought that with the new CBA that's going to speed things up. And that's why, honestly, James, I think we need a signing period in baseball. I feel like that's what we need. Because if we don't
Ooh.
have that, like, it's just going to be like this every year where, like, that's why I don't really even care about the baseball free agency. I care more about when NFL free, you and I both, when NFL free
NBA
agency,
for me.
yeah, when NFL free agency comes about, we're like, okay, grab your phone and check. Adam Schefter, Ian Rappaport, better put them on notification. NBA free agency, when NBA free agency starts, it's like, Woj, Sham, put them on your notification.
July 1st, baby.
Twitter. Yeah, exactly. For baseball, it's like, okay, nothing's gonna happen. See you in February. We'll see you in the first move in January, February. Like, there's nothing gonna happen. It's so slow. So I do think we need a signing period in baseball.
I like that,
you know,
Isaiah. I really do.
that signing period.
I would do one from December 1st
Yeah.
to literally January 1st, and then a trade period from January 1st to February 1st, right? And
Right.
then do whatever, and then go off to spring training in February.
Yeah.
That's how I would do it.
It would make the off season so much more exciting than what we had to do this
Hell yeah.
year. And I like Manfred always talks about, I want to fix the game. I want to make the game so much more
Mhm.
exciting for young fans. Well, then put in a signing period so that we all don't have to be waiting like every week talking about, nothing happened again. Oh, nothing happened again. Oh, yeah, this guy signed a minor league contract. Oh, yeah, big move is this guy got traded. Finally, big move. Corbin Burns gets traded. Like we need like a signing period in baseball. Like that's what we need. Like we have to have that because without it, it's just the off season is always just like this. It's just boring. And I mean, how many top free agents? I think this is like the record, right? We've never had this many top free agents not signed before spring training. And I think to your point, James, it might be the Amazon, the Bally Sports thing because a lot of teams are definitely tied to it that, they don't have the money. There's a lot of uncertainty on that. But also, here's one big key. Scott freaking Boras. That clown is holding up everything. All of the top free agents on the list, it's his clients. And that's why they're not signed because Blake Snell is reportedly, Scott Boras is asking for freaking 10 years, $300 million. Who is giving Blake Snell a 10-year, $300 million deal? And the last time, like, Boras did drop on his demands, now it's down to 9 years, $270 million. Is there anybody going to give
Blake Snell waiting him out? Just wait him out. That's all you can do if you're an owner. Isaiah, let me mention this. The best free agents remaining by position. All right. So in the outfield, there's Adam Duvall in left, Cody Bellinger in center, Jorge Soler in right. Okay. In the infield, you have Matt Chapman is still out there at third base. Shortstop is Tim Anderson. Second is Whit Merrifield. And at first, Brandon Belt. Behind the plate, Gary Sanchez, who had a really good year in San Diego. And then you mentioned Blake Snell as a starter. The bullpen, it's kind of they're kind of set. I mean, you could trade bullpen pieces, but Jacob Junis, the Giant last year, is a free agent out there. That's not bad, right?
Today, James. He actually
oh my god,
today. Yeah, he went to the Brewers on a 1-year deal.
Okay, so throw him off the books, but you still have JD Martinez out there at the DH. So it just shows you, and the Angels will probably get him, I'm guessing, but it just shows you the owners are not willing to make those moves, and it's just unfortunate. Anyway, about the Kansas City Royals, get to real quick Bobby Witt Jr. and that record deal for them because that's big for their franchise. And then I want to give you a question, a scenario here after that.
All right. Yeah. So Bobby Witt, I think that's a massive news for the Royals because now they have their franchise player. Because I had heard this offseason, James, and I think one day we talked. I don't know if you were on the program. We talked about this, but there were rumors early in the offseason that the Royals were not going to give Bobby Witt an extension, that they were going to instead look to trade him. And I was like, what?
Wow.
You're going to trade him after he's only been in the league for 2 years and he's been dominating? Like he was, I think, 10th in MVP, or not MVP. He was like 10th in the American League in terms of RBIs this past season. He hit 30 home runs, and it's only his second year. I mean, the kid's going to just keep getting better and better. But, I think this is massive for the Royals. This kid is great. He's going to be a superstar in this league. I think he's going to be the right-handed version of Corey Seager. That's how I see him as. He's a guy that always makes contact, doesn't really strike out a lot. Hits for power, really good defense, a shortstop, really fast as well.
Mm-hmm.
He's your guy that can be your number 2 or your number 3 hitter in the lineup, and it's good for the Royals to finally to come to an agreement with him. And I wish that the A's would do something like this. Like, when do you ever see the A's giving out $100 million contract? Heck, we don't even give out an $80 or $70 million contract.
No.
Let alone $100 million. So yeah, like, it's great to see the Royals do that. And James, they call me crazy, but the Royals have actually been one of the winners of this offseason. I really like what Kansas City has done. I mean, they
under the radar moves.
Yeah, yep. Yeah. I mean, they got Witt locked up long term. He's going to be locked up until he's 35 years of age, so it's basically his whole career. Salvador Perez, I think
he ain't going anywhere.
I hope they trade him, because I think it's time for a youth.
Yeah,
I think it's time for a youth movement there. It just doesn't make sense for like a veteran like him to be stuck on a team that's losing. Like, I just don't like that. They re-signed Greinke, I think. That was one of their moves. He can be the veteran to their young arms. They have some really young, tantalizing arms in the rotation. Will Smith, is he going to be the closer? I'm pretty sure he's going to be the closer, right?
I don't think you have anybody else.
That's not good for the Kansas City Royals. I mean,
yeah, they're not slated to win much, so it's okay. But hopefully, you can show some young guys like, okay, this is not how you blow a game. This is not how you blow a lead.
Don't copy me.
Yeah, do better than what I'm doing. Don't do as I do, but do as I say.
Well, they also signed, I believe, Chris Stratton to a deal, which I like, because I think he's a really good multi-inning reliever. He can help your bullpen out. So I like what they're doing. I mean, they made some really under-the-radar good moves this year, and I think it's going to pay off. But don't worry, I'm not going to make the mistake of what I did last year and picking the Royals to win the AL Central.
Oh God, I forgot about that.
Oh, that was an awful mistake, James. Oh my God, that was not one of my. I mean, I don't have success with the AL Central, James. I mean, the year before I picked Detroit.
Stay away. Everyone else does.
Yes, everyone else does. So yeah, I like the move for Bobby Witt. I think he's a superstar that'll make it.
All right, so they did get Adam Frazier. I remember that was one of their moves. He's been bouncing around a lot, though. It's not like he's been, lighting the league on fire. They also did get Sandy Leon, the backup catcher. Let's see. They traded for no, never mind. Let's see. Sandy Leon. Some other guys.
Did they starter? I feel like they did.
That's what I'm looking. A lot of non-roster invitees, of course, but a lot of those moves, like you mentioned, were done, before. Will Smith here in December. This is all December, by the way. Oh gosh, there is. Yeah, they did trade some players. They did Garrett Hampson from Colorado. That's one of those starters, but not big name, but just to fill out a roster. They did trade for Nick Anderson from the Atlanta Braves. I do remember that.
Yeah. Yep.
He's kind of been lost in that shuffle. Oh, they did get Cal Wright from the Braves as well. That's the one I'm thinking of. Yeah. So they did go out. They did go out and get some, postseason experience pitchers at least there. So, but the thing is with Wright is that he's been injured the last couple of years. He hasn't been able to complete seasons. So that's kind of a lower risk, high reward kind of move. And the Braves felt no, I hate to use this word, but no pain trading him away. You just couldn't rely on him to be there, especially in the postseason. That is what was the problem with him, is that he would get hurt. and he wasn't there to show up. So that was unfortunate. Maybe Kansas City, maybe they'll rely on him less and he could do more. That's all I could think of. Isaiah, so we were talking about Bobby Witt Jr. and credit to Danny Vietti, the on X here. He had a thing on Sports Keda about 4 young players, signing long deals like Witt did, right? So he mentioned these guys will be in their cities for the next decade. So think about that's until 2024 and beyond. So Bobby Witt Jr., I'll go through the list. Say yes or no. Will Bobby Witt Jr. be in Kansas City for the next decade, or will he get traded, somewhere in between?
It really depends on the Royals. Do they put a team around it? Because if he's the only player that they sign and they're making marginal moves like this, then yeah, I think that he will. But they're trying to get a new stadium, from what I heard. That's why they
Downtown.
Yeah, that's why they re-signed him. So I'm hoping with the new stadium that they'll spend money. I'm going to go say yes. I think the Royals, they've kept their homegrown stars like Salvador Perez, Alcides Escobar. They kept Eric Hosmer for a long time. So Lorenzo Cain as well. So they're very loyal to their
Alex. Yeah. Alex Gordon, I can think of.
Oh yeah, Alex Gordon. So yeah, I would say yeah. I think Bobby Witt Jr. is going to be a superstar, and that's why the Royals are probably going to keep him for the next decade.
Now, these next 2 are sort of tough, but okay. Julio Rodriguez in Seattle. What do you think? I'll say yes for Bobby Witt Jr., but what do you think about Rodriguez?
No, I think he's going to demand a trade because I think he's really getting tired of Jerry DePoto's crap that he's doing in Seattle. I mean, the guy is literally tearing down the roster when they're winning, and he's giving them no chance. I mean, I think it was a couple years ago, right? They had a boycott basically because they were winning. They were going to make the playoffs, and then they traded their closer. It made no sense. And then last year, exactly, they traded Seawald to the Arizona Diamondbacks. So I think he's getting tired of Jerry DePoto's nonsense, where you have a winning team and then Jerry trades it, and then they're just kind of in a perpetual rebuild. So I do think he's going to demand out at one point, and he's gonna demand out, and he's gonna be on the first Alaska Airlines flight out of town.
To the Yankees.
You know what I'm talking about.
Kendall Graveman, I think, was that closer that they traded him, I think, to the Astros in 2022, I want to say.
Yeah.
And that came out of nowhere, and that's why the players, I think that was that boycott. They were questioning the hell out of Jerry DePoto. All right, so this one is a definite no for me, and it's local. Fernando Tatis Jr. I don't see him at all staying a San Diego Padre. I think he's gone within the next 3 years. I'll be honest with you. They can't trust him off the field. On the field, he's crazy. He goes all out. But they moved him to center field, which was just weird. They moved him to right field when he should be a shortstop all of his life. The hell? They already messed him up. And then he messed himself up. I think it's just a disaster waiting to be gone here from San Diego. So I say no, he'll be gone within the next decade. What do you think?
Here's a question for you. Did Tatis even play last year? Because there was barely
he only missed 20 games. He missed the first 20 games from his suspension.
Right.
And then he was able to play the rest of it.
Was he did good, though? Because he wasn't really mentioned a lot.
No, he wasn't as good. And that comes with losing, missing so many games, though. That does come with it. And now there's, I think, added pressure on him because of the Juan Soto trade.
Yep.
Be that face of the Padres, but not actually the leader. That's Machado.
No, I agree with you. I think he's gonna be gone in 1 or 2 years, to be honest. I think they're sick of him. I think that his off the field stuff and he can't stay healthy. He does really stupid stuff. He's like a ticking time bomb. I think
Yeah.
that's what they said when we were talking about the Padres. I don't think you can win with Fernando Tatis Jr. He's just a ticking time bomb, and any second he's just going to explode, and you're going to be screwed. So I think he's not going to be staying within the next 10 years. He's not even going to be staying within the next 5. I think he's out in 1 or 2 years.
He's like a what do you call that thing in the sky that comes around and then it vanishes really fast? A comet or a
Yeah, a comet.
A comet, yeah. It feels like a comet. The rise has been so amazing for him, but the downfall, you just know, is coming quicker and quicker, and it's just going to end for him, and you just know it. Stay in the same division. This is the last one, and this one is pretty tough for me. It's Corbin Carroll of Arizona. For me, I think eventually they trade him in the next 4 to 5 years, unless Arizona, has a new mindset. Like they're built to win now. I mean, they showed that last year. Defeating the Dodgers, defeating the Phillies, and then going to the World Series. But that could have been a 1-year deal, for them. That could have been a 1-year run. But getting Suarez, helped out. Getting Rodriguez, that starting pitcher from the Tigers, that also helped. That'll lead him for the next couple of years, but you feel like, what about the future? And he's such a threat. He's so fast. I want him to stay there for a long time. It'd be great for the game and that fan base that's there, which is tough because you have the Dodger fans coming, the Padre fans coming, the Giant fans coming there to take over the stadium every time they come into town. But Carroll, I want him to be the ringleader that whole decade. But based off what has happened with Goldschmidt and other Diamondback, pillars, they eventually get shipped out. So I could see that happening.
Actually, I do see him staying there because I think that this front office, they have a lot of young kids coming up. Their team is very, very young. I think they can contend for the next 5 to 7 years.
I hope so.
Sadly, he might be gone maybe like at the end of that deal, because I think that at that time that they're going to probably be, rebuilding and tearing it down. So I could see that, but I think in all likelihood he's probably going to stay just because they have a team that's built to win for like at least the next 5 to 7 years.
That's what I would hope so.
He's really good too. Like his playing style. The problem with Corbin Carroll is the speed. Once he ages, like he gets into his 30s, the speed is not going to be there. But the always making contact, that's always going to be there. But I'm just worried, like those like players that always rely on speed, it just doesn't age well in baseball.
You know what? I don't want to compare him to anyone. I don't want to yet, but he's almost like a Ichiro type of player, but not as definite though. Not as great as Ichiro. But you mentioned the speed, you mentioned the hitting, you mentioned the extra bases, the power he can sometimes show. You remember Ichiro, he basically only hit home runs when he wanted to. And just thinking about that, man, he could have had so many more home runs. It's almost like Shaq, right? He could have had so many more points up the scoring list, but he missed so many free throws. It felt like that with Ichiro and home runs. He could have had more home runs, but he didn't want to. Instead, he slapped for base hits. He was the greatest, bunter, that there pretty much ever was. What is that bunt called when you're not regular bunt, a squeeze bunt or whatever it's called? He was the best, I think, at that that I've ever seen.
Like suicide squeeze.
Yeah, no, it's another word, but he was just the best at one of those bunts that you just don't expect it, but then he would just do it. Corbin Carroll would do that last year too, from what I remember.
Listen, he torched the Rangers in the World Series. Like he was always like that first 2 games. I mean, he was electric. They figured him out in games 3, 4, and 5, but games 1 and 2, I mean, that guy was on fire.
The oh god, Squeeze bunt, no. Suicide bunt, no. There was another bunt I could think of, not sacrifice. Anyway, drag bunt. Sorry,
Drag
drag,
bunt,
drag,
yeah,
drag.
yeah,
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 each
yeah.
row was the best at a drag bunt. We're not in baseball. I'm not in baseball mode yet. I'm almost there. That's what a sleepy off season will do to you. But each row is the best at a drag bunt ever that I've ever seen. And Corbin Carroll's getting there, but they don't do it as much, of course. Anyway, let's end the show. We've had. You go ahead, Isaiah.
You better get into baseball mode soon, because I know the show's ending. We're ending the show, but you better get into baseball mode soon, because spring training, man, starts next week. I mean, we got games in a couple of weeks now, so
That don't count.
that doesn't count exactly. No World Baseball this year, though.
Dude, they want me to go to spring training for the Angels. First of all, I have the money for it. Second of all, I was like, man, this is all practice. Why are we paying so much money to go see a practice game or an exhibition game? Unless it was like free or cheaper because Otani ain't there. I would go.
Go get Angel season tickets this year.
Hell no. No. Hell no.
Dude,
I'm not even going opening day. I've been the last 3, and that was the first time I ever went. 21, 22, 23. You can guarantee I'm not going to be there for 24.
Why? You don't want to cheer on Alex Manoah and Tim Anderson?
Alex Manoah is a free agent. Tim Anderson is a free agent, and they're not coming to the Angels. I am manifesting that in my head right now. Screw that.
Joey Votto.
No, God, no. Joey Votto will not be with the Angels. Oh my God, those are 3 people that I love. Joey Votto, I love him on social media. I love him in an interview, but I don't want him playing for my team. I love him, but I don't want him playing for my team, unless it didn't matter, right? Unless you're just trying to fill out the season. If you're already in last place or 4th place, like the Angels will be, then fine, whatever. We have Nolan Schanuel, and hopefully he's going to keep improving, but I just want to go younger. And I don't want idiots on my team like Manoah and Anderson. I'm sorry to be harsh, but I just don't want that.
Before we go to final thoughts and end the show, since one last baseball question for you. Since Angels got Aaron Hicks, right, the outfielder. So let me ask you this. Because they have a lot of outfielders now, right? They have tons of outfielders.
Moniak, Trout, Taylor Ward, who will eventually come back, but he's eventually going to get injured. Joe Adell, and then let me see. I should know this. I try to forget them after the seasons they've had. Listen, my eBay store is booming out here. JG. ON18 is my handle name on eBay. I got so much Angel stuff on there, and I've made a lot of money recently on Angel stuff. I'm trying to get as much as I can. I got Otani stuff going like this and that. I'm trying to sell anything Trout because they can't trade him, so I'll just sell his merchandise. I am ready for going younger. I'm ready for a different team. It is all going down. In the outfield, Jordan Adams was the other one I'm thinking of. Remember, he came up in August, and he had a terrible time fielding. There was a couple times in one game against the Rays where he didn't use 2 hands, and both times he dropped the ball. It's like fundamentals, right? You expect everybody in the minors to be taught, and you're taught this in freaking little league, middle school, high school, baseball academy, wherever you may go. 2 hands on an outfield ball, especially if you're young and trying to impress or trying to get trust on your team in you to make routine plays. It's just another stain. But yeah, Ward, Trout, Moniak, Hicks, Adell, and Adams. And you know what? I would trade all of them. I literally would. I would bring up all the Salt Lake City Bees, all the Rocket City Trash Panda, the Double-A guys. I would bring up even the Single-A Inland Empire 66er outfielders to all come play for the Angels right now. I would trade all these guys away. I'm
Well, let me
done.
ask you this then. Since you have so many outfielders, right? Like all of those guys, like you probably have Trout, you have, Aaron Hicks if he makes the team. I mean, he's been really good he's been all right in the big leagues. But you have all these outfielders. Does this, with the Hicks move, does this increase a chance that Moniak gets traded before spring training ends?
No, I don't think anybody wants him to. I don't think unless someone like really sees something in him where they can
He's
tweak
got power,
him.
though. He's got really good
Right.
pop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm worried. No, I'm not worried about trading. I'm just worried about his development, and being with Ron Washington and being with the coaching staff that is there now with the Angels. I am really looking forward to what Mickey Moniak will be able to do better than before. Remember, he had his hiccups last year with the Angels. He had some misplays. He had his hitting streaks and then his low streaks at the plate. And then he got hurt, remember. But we saw some really good stuff from him, actually. And I think the Angels were high on him once, and then he just got in a horrible slump, and then that's when things look bad. But I'm looking forward to his progress. And then Joe Adell progress as well. I mean, you have a coaching staff that is willing to work with young guys. I'm really looking forward to that. I just want someone to just grab the bull by the horns and say, hey, I want this outfield spot. I want to be in the lineup every day. I want to maintain this starting role in the outfield. I just want that at the corner outfield spots. And with Trout, I just feel like he's going to be the center fielder until he says he can't do it anymore. When eventually, hey, if they don't get JD Martinez, I'm putting Trout at DH. And I'm putting Moniak in center. I'm putting Hicks in left and Joe Adell in right, or Taylor Ward in right. But you can mix and match that outfield, though. You really can. But the thing is consistency and the injuries. And just, I'm worried about the errors. But I'm just hoping that, hey, this coaching staff can get this outfield going. But, hey, the Padres, they need a left fielder badly. They need an Adam Duvall. They need someone badly here in San Diego for an outfielder. So maybe they make a move.
I've heard Moniak to the Padres. That's one of the rumors that's been circling. Also, Moniak to the Giants is another one that's been circling. But
all right, let's get to our.
I think our final thoughts. We can talk baseball.
Yeah, we had a great show. It started off as a Super Bowl preview, but we went around the sports world, other from NHL. Tennis and golf. We didn't mention, Live and PGA merging. I mean, that would be my final thought. Watching both, it's so much different with the LIV. I mean, they're playing like the this generation's golf, where it's more laid back, whatever the case is, and the PGA. This is almost like the NBA and NBA merger of 1976, where the ABA was innovative. They had the 3-point line. They had the red, white, and blue ball. They had the funky halftime shows and the different team names. And the NBA was that established, tired brand of ball. And then the ABA brought some flair into it. And maybe this happens with golf. So I'm looking forward maybe to seeing the difference of, how will the PGA, how will those guys adapt to the LIV guys, coming back. Remember, once you left the PGA for LIV, you were kind of banned from ever joining back the PGA. So it's funny how things have changed in the golf world. Yeah, you hear me talking golf. Can you believe that? And not Jared golf, but the actual sport golf. It's weird.
We're in the portion of the show where everything's just been derailed. I mean, we're talking about James's eBay account, for goodness sakes, at one point.
Come on by. I have more here. I went through at least 200 items. I'm gonna I'm gonna list and will be for sale. There's anything you could think of, I might have it. So come on by. Again, I'm gonna put it on my thing, the banner here, but JGON 8910. It's going down. No, we're not gonna talk about that. We are gonna get to final thoughts and get out of here. As you can hear, maybe. Can you hear the rain?
No, I can't actually. I haven't heard it during the whole show.
No, it just started. It's really heavy on my roof. That's why I came in here. I was hoping maybe it wouldn't be as loud. I was so worried about that. Anyway, Isaiah, I'm Mr. Sports, I guess, because I'm talking about all these different sports. But I'm all over the place. Isaiah, what's your final thoughts?
Listen, it was a great show. Appreciate all the viewers for tuning in. We had Chardot, I think, tune in. He wanted to give us both a shout out. I know he's definitely looking forward to the Super Bowl.
You know who isn't? Sunday. Me.
What's that?
You know who isn't looking forward to the Super Bowl?
Yes, you right there. James is the only one, right? James is the only one not looking forward to the Super Bowl. Oh my God, James! You might as well just turn on. I don't know what's on Sunday besides the Super. Turn on Family Guy. Turn on Family Guy on Sunday.
The Puppy Bowl.
The Puppy Bowl. Yeah, go watch the Puppy Bowl instead.
Why is this blurry?
I don't even know, but
it's a blur.
It was a great show. Thanks to our viewers for tuning in.
Like I'm showing something X-rated here or something. Yeah, there it is. So JGON 9810. That's my eBay handle. Come on by. Look at the 100% positive feedback. I'm really truthful with my items. Yeah, it's all going down. Anyway, I'm sorry.
Yeah, he might even send you some other stuff as well.
I'm willing to get rid of all my Angel stuff. I really am. Anything can go.
Anything can go. Even his TV can go to the kitchen.
I have an extra one. I do. I have an extra TV I don't even use.
Right there. We're selling James's TV too. Anybody name a price, and we'll try to get.
I'm trying to watch the Super Bowl on that.
But yeah, it's been a great show. Make sure you guys tune in tomorrow, actually, because I know we talked a lot about the Super Bowl, but tomorrow we're actually doing a Super Bowl preview extra point show where we're gonna get into not just the matchups, Purdy versus Mahomes, dive into everything about it, Christian McCaffrey against the Chiefs defense, Shanahan, Andy Reid. And also, we're going to get into the prop bets. We're going to get into who wins the coin toss, how many times is Taylor Swift going to be shown, what color Gatorade will the winning coach be showered in, who wins Super Bowl MVP.
Blue.
So, red. That's going to be fun. So, make sure you guys tune in for that tomorrow night, or later on tonight, actually, since it's actually 1:16 a.m. here on the West Coast. But great to be back. And I would say my final thoughts is, hopefully this NBA trade deadline that everybody's been hyping up is actually really good and really awesome.
For real.
I know it's on Thursday. Hopefully it's fun. James, if we have to go on record right now and predict Super Bowl MVP, I'll put you on the record right now. Super Bowl MVP, who you got? For me, I'm going to go with Brock Purdy. I think the Chiefs take away the running game. I think you knew I was going to go with this one, but Chiefs going to take away the running game. I think Purdy will slice and dice up that secondary and lead have a really good game, and Niners win 34-24, which was my original prediction. I'm gonna go Purdy, Super Bowl MVP. Who you got?
Christian McCaffrey. I think he'll have a couple of touchdowns like he did for the championship game. I'm hoping though it's George Kittle. If there's anyone that deserves it, I think it's George Kittle. I think he's he hasn't been featured offensively as much. Other from, I think, the Green Bay game, right? He hasn't scored a touchdown in a while.
Yeah.
I would love George Kittle to get it. I don't want Patrick Mahomes to get it, that's for sure.
Of course
if I did have a Chief to get it, I want Isaiah Pacheco just because he's so young and running backs don't really last as long. Remember in the Super Bowl in the first pre-match, Damian Williams won it, I think, in that Super Bowl.
Really?
Remember, he had a couple of touchdowns. He had the one to clinch it for Kansas City. So Damian Williams won the MVP. He took off the COVID year, and then he bounced around. He was with the Raiders, I think, a couple of years ago, and then I think he's a free agent. That's all I know. But it just shows you the shelf life of a running back, in a system like that. So I'm going for the running backs or tight ends, not Kelsey.
Right.
Not Kelsey. I'm thinking Christian McCaffrey, but I'm hoping Kittle gets it. All right, so we're going to get out of here. Thank you for watching a elongated Sports Weekly Super Bowl preview, among other things. We've had fun talking sports. Make sure you listen and watch all this programming here on the IM6 Network. You can catch me, of course, on the C2C Entertainment Network. And Halos in the Infield, the Chair with James here. That's my handle for YouTube. Don't forget that eBay store, JG9810. I'm going crazy like a car salesman. I'm dishing everything out. It's going down. The rain is coming. Here we go. See everyone later.
One more thing before we get out of here. I do got to give a shout out to my quarterback, Brock Purdy, for this, by the way.
And it's late in the fourth quarter. Are you prepared to disappoint Taylor Swift?
Yes.
That's America's quarterback right there. That's America's quarterback.
That's why I love Marshawn Lynch when he was at the Super Bowl media day or week, whatever it was, and he didn't want to say nothing stupid or give any bulletin material. He said, basically, I'm only here because I don't want to get fined. That's why. I don't want to answer stupid-ass questions like that, especially the ones when they're at the podiums. When you have just people from, I'm not, disrespecting other people from other countries, but they ask like the most random-ass questions. And then people from America, too. They answer like all these pop culture questions or social media questions, crap like that. I'm here to win the damn game. I'm here to win the Super Bowl. I'm not worried about, what's my favorite Taylor Swift song? Am I here to disappoint her? What's my favorite color? What do you think about society? I'm here to win the damn Super Bowl. I'm not here for this crap. But I do love his answer. And I am, because he is Mr. Relevant trying to shake that out, I am rooting for him.
He's also gonna take Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift's new boyfriend is gonna be Brock Purdy after this Sunday. You better believe that. She's gonna switch sides.
You know what? She switched so many times before. I would not be shocked if Taylor Swift has a new visitor to her hotel suite in Las Vegas after the Sunday night Super Bowl game. Anyway, after that, I think we should get out of here before I say something crazy. Everybody take care. Thank you for watching Sports Weekly. Me and Isaiah are out.
But I said, if you gave me Mahomes, if you gave me Lamar Jackson with his great legs and Mahomes' great arm, or you give me Baker Mayfield, who would I want? I would want Baker Mayfield, and the reason why is because Baker Mayfield...
I really think that now this is the worst case scenario for the San Francisco 49ers, is that they're going to have to cut ties with Jimmy Garoppolo if I were them. What? Oh my God! Whoa, man!
In any event, Kyle Gibson is definitely my NL Cy Young Award winner. Rock on, Gibson.
And even no way! Oh my God!